Sports Update.
The Buffalo Bills made the 4-year extension for cornerback Christian Benford official today. He did speak with the media earlier this afternoon. If you missed any of that, you can find it on our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. And as we inch closer to the 2025 NFL Draft, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is reporting Bills are going to have Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond in on a pre-draft visit at some point next week. We'll get more on the Bills when Sal Capaccio joins the show at 5 p.m. The Sabres do have off until Saturday following yesterday's win. If you do want more on the Sabres' season sweep of the Senators, it's up at our website, also WGR550.com. And then early afternoon action for the Bisons. They're on the road versus Memphis, though currently they are down 10-3 in the fourth. You can listen to the rest of that game up at our sister station, the Bet 1520. And then staying with baseball, some extensions were handed out today in Major League Baseball. The Red Sox locking down rookie second baseman Christian Campbell on an 8-year, $60 million deal, while the Padres ink outfielder Jackson Merrill to a 9-year, $135 million deal. And then some games in action this afternoon. Blue Jays are about to get underway against the Nationals. That game is in Toronto. Just after 4:40, the Mets are on the road versus the Marlins. Then at 7, the Diamondbacks host the Yankees. And then we do have some college hoops action as the Fab Four for the women's NIT gets going tonight. UB hosting Cleveland State at 6. You can listen to that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway.
It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR
Hump day.
Sports Radio 550.
Gonna be there in an hour. Going in my franchise shoes.
All right, should be good today. Wednesdays, this time of year with us, mean draft talk. Chris Trapasso. Oh, baby. I put a lot of time in today on the draft.
Good.
Is that to mean you didn't?
No, not at all.
Good. All right.
I've been doing my normal. I didn't do any more than normal, but I do a little every day.
It's like a workout. A little bit of, 10-minute walk.
Yeah.
10 minutes on the draft. I watched the entire Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo Check the Mic podcast today on YouTube, which was at least an hour and a half. My dog barked over it the entire time because I had guys over who were working and I am, the Will Ferrell SNL character. There's a commercial bit from when he was on the show where he's like a sarcastic dog owner and he talks to dogs in like adult sarcastic.
It sounds great, but I don't recall this bit. No.
I am so that character. Oh, could you please bark some more?
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, it's only she and I in the house, and the guy's working downstairs like, oh, that person walking on the street looks like trouble to me, too. I mean, I literally say these things loudly in the house to her. Margo, I was hoping you could please keep eating the couch. Could you please keep eating the couch? That's really good for you and for me. I don't need a new couch.
Or maybe I would like to get a new couch, and this would be a reason for us to get a new couch, provided you also don't eat that.
Just please keep eating everything off the floor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of my level of volume there, too. But Sam and Steve, it was running back day with Sam and Steve.
Well, that 90 minutes, I mean, that's a perfect time frame for me. I could have burned through that while I was on the bicycle this morning. But
approximately.
I didn't. I watched two episodes of The White Lotus.
Okay.
Which I think I hate, but I'm whatever. I got to see it through now. I'm in. I'm just like, okay, what's going to happen to all you people who I want to get stabbed in the eye? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Luckily, I didn't feel that way about Sam and Steve.
No, I wouldn't think so.
I wasn't rooting for them.
I consider them both people that I would enjoy not seeing stabbed in the eye.
Where did we or you end up yesterday on the idea of drafting a running back? Were you like, they wouldn't do it anyway, they won't? Or did you come a little bit closer to the other side?
I've never wanted to say they won't. I feel like the clue about what they're feeling about the Cook stuff could be derived from it. Could be. I think if they're comfortable that Cook is going to be here no matter what, confident that they'll get something worked out with him or that he'll come in and play on his existing fourth year of his rookie contract, whatever, then I don't think they would draft someone like preemptively to replace him ahead of time. I think they've got other needs, and they've got a backfield that is very clearly defined roles right now. But the way Bean sounded about Cook over the weekend has me thinking that, you know, maybe they're not as confident or comfortable in the situation, or that now that they've sort of drawn their line in the sand here effectively, that maybe Cook will start rethinking his strategy, and could that involve time spent away in the summer? Anyway, if they have some sense of that, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see them draft someone. But I think if they're comfortable, if they don't pick a running back, then they feel like Cook is going to be here one way or the other.
Yeah, I would say that.
And that's very safe. But now that is sort of in the air here, like what is going to happen, I think talking about them drafting a running back is completely warranted. I don't like investing in conversations that I think are pointless generally. I mean, as fun
Even in
as,
here?
like, you know, are they going to trade for Christian McCaffrey? I never believed that for a second. They trade for Saquon Barkley? No. It's kind of a boring stick in the mud on that topic, but consistent. This is different to me because there is a great variance in potential outcomes. New contract, everybody's happy. Well, news conference, yay! Our 16 touchdown scorer from last year is happy. He's here. Everybody's happy. Let's all sing. That's maybe the ideal. There's him coming in begrudgingly because he's not happy, but still, I'm going to be there and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to try to cash in after this season, provided I can stay healthy. Okay. Then there's this, I'm not coming. And I don't know where we are. To me, any of those are possible still at this point. I don't think anything contractually is imminent the way Bean sounded about it. It sounded like if anything's going to happen, it's going to be later in the spring or summer.
If anything is going to happen.
If anything is going to happen. So they've got a team to run. If they are worried about Cook, he did matter a lot to their offense. And as much as I like Ty Johnson in his role and the potential for Ray Davis to continue in his role and maybe have that expanded over time, they're not all set at running back if James Cook is not around. Need that even be said? I think they'd want to be really busy about making sure they've got a backup plan if they are at all concerned about him missing time.
I think they would draft one no matter what.
Really?
Yeah, because they have 10 picks, and the other guys are okay. They've drafted one every year, right? Davis after maybe not the year before. Did they draft one the year before? You had Cook in there. You had Moss. You had Singletary going back.
I don't believe so. I think they missed a year in there.
23.
Yeah.
Okay, but just because the easy combination of the number of draft picks when they're distributed, like Saturday picks, 7 of their 10 are on Saturday, where I think this would make the most sense, and how the position is supposed to be so good. And I can't get enough of shows like this one with Sam and Steve. I just can't get enough of it. And I usually do confuse the names. I'm not sure exactly which guys necessarily are the fast pass catcher ones and which guys. Ollie Gordon is like the big bruiser, thumper type, but I don't have them all sorted out in my head, which I will get to, I think. But yeah, I think who knows? Do you ever root for, not to be so broad, do you ever root for something bad to happen other than that TV show you just mentioned? Do you ever root for something bad to happen so you can find out an answer to a question? Like for this, I kind of want to see, not Cook, just never come back or anything, but yeah, I'm fine too. Like Bean, getting to the draft first before any new development on this to see who they come down with. I wanted Davis to be better than he was okay.
Yeah, right.
Last year I wanted Davis, who I liked as a pick, to be better and
sort of
maybe would move in on
be a
Cook.
clamoring for him to get more time, and
Didn't happen.
that never really happened. He had his moments. I mean, that Jet game, maybe specifically, and that's the game Cook didn't play, right? But even the biggest play of that game was kind of a weird, that downfield, like that's just not. You're not expecting that from Ray Davis. It's great that he made that play, right? But it's just not. That's not. Like, oh, this is why he should play more. It was not that kind of play.
By the way, he had 6 touchdowns himself.
Wow.
I mean, Cook had 18. Davis had 6.
And Ty Johnson had a few.
Ty Johnson had 4.
All right. Man, that's a lot of production. Well, I want to push back a little on you think. Well, I mean, you can think what you want. I just don't agree that they'll pick one no matter what. The 10 picks thing is a good place to start with that, but I'll be stunned. I've said this a few times already, I think, if they use all 10 picks. There's no way 10 rookies are making this team. So, and Bean's history, really their history tells you, like if they like a guy, they'll give up a 6 to move up, a few spaces in round 4 or whatever it costs, they'll do it. So I think they'll burn some assets that way. And I think if all 3 of those guys are here, like Cook specifically, I mean, the other 2 are foregone conclusions that they'll be here. They re-signed Ty Johnson, and Ray Davis is only going into year 2. If Cook is here, what am I doing with that running back? As much as I have all this extra stuff,
yeah.
I've got if he's good, now there's maybe the market will be flooded because so many guys are going to be available this year, even guys that won't get drafted, teams may like a lot. But if I pick a guy on Saturday and he's not going to make my team, I don't know if my chances are great of him making it to the practice squad, and I can stash him. Again, unless every team is just like, well, I'm all full at running back, so I'm all set. But I don't think the Bills have a spot on a 53-man roster to carry a 4th running back unless they want to displace one of these other guys, but that would surprise me at this point because they did re-sign Johnson, as modest as that may be, and Davis, again, is only in year 2, unless they think they can do better than Davis, which, is possible, I suppose. But I don't know. I would not assume – I would take them drafting a running back as them being worried about Cook. And I think there almost is no other scenario that I would envision them picking one.
I think most people would do the same. Earlier the better for that. All right, so you want me to close my Cam Scattaboo profile?
No, it's funny. Like when I was thinking about the draft today, that was a guy. Just every day there's just certain guys that you just catch more on, than any other day. And today, for me, I'm not going to say it was Cam Scatabo Day on the internet or anything, but I just saw a lot of the people that I follow, or maybe just 2 accounts, posting lots of highlights of him. Josh Norris was among them today, I think. And
the Sabre? He's not doing anything else.
Not the Sabre. And so I was thinking about him. Okay, like what's his story, right? Like he's very interesting. I think he's someone who can catch the ball, right? But is he explosive? Is he going to run away from people? Probably not. But he's big and bruising. He's interesting. He's sort of got almost folk hero status written all over him already. Just the name, the running style. He's just got a very damaging looking way about him, I would say.
Oh, I love damaging looking. Right. Football guys calls him a thumper with soft hands. Who doesn't love that?
I mean, there you go.
I love a thumper with soft hands. Maybe Jeanty will fall
to 30.
Yep. Maybe everybody agrees that the depth is so strong that we don't need to pick one early.
Right.
Would you pick him at 30? You have to.
I think you would. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd never be able to. You'd have to. They said on this podcast today, how about this stat on Ashton Jeanty? 5.25 yards per carry after contact.
Is that good? That seems good.
Over 5 yards a carry after contact for Jeanty. They had a really good, if you want to check the mic with Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo, they had a really good long conversation about him and all his traits and all his talent. But then also how, I think if you included negated plays, like holding penalties or whatnot, he had over 400 touches. And Sam was saying how that's the kind of number where if that happened in the NFL, you could almost guarantee the next year the guy would go down. Like it'd be the beginning of career decline. That's good. That's the peak. That's it.
Right.
You're never, other than the rare exceptions. You mentioned Henry. Other than like the very few exceptions, a guy puts up that kind of workload, and then it starts downhill. Now he's still in college for that, but man, that is a massive number. I did see also today on him, well, not specifically on him, but Brian Schottenheimer, the new Cowboys coach, said in an interview with The Athletic that
he would prefer James Cook to Ashton Jeanty.
Yes.
Sorry.
And then it was redacted because he's not allowed to talk about players and other teams. No, he said he sounded exactly like somebody that understands positional value. And like we've learned, words to the effect of, we learned that with running back, you can wait.
Oh, okay.
So does that mean they're taking Ashton Jeanty with the 10th or the 12th pick of the 2025 NFL draft?
It could be. I mean,
if they can,
if you believe in the theory of the opposite, then yes. If you take it at its face value, then it also sounds like a team that's not prepared to trade for James Cook. Positional value.
You got to get off that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, I doubt that'll happen.
Yeah.
They did sign, by the way, 2 younger veterans, if you will, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. Williams is younger than Sanders, I think, in Dallas. Well, I don't want to, build the whole plane out of James Cook again today, but it's out there. 803-0550, Chris Trapasso on the draft at 4, Sal Capaccio at 5. And, the schedule with Sal is you always want to, if there's an opportunity to get in the schedule, you want to. And I think there is today.
Christmas Day.
Christmas.
Yeah.
The Chiefs reportedly want to own Christmas. They want to be on Christmas every year.
Where do they get the ego?
Maybe they're probably just asking.
Yeah.
But maybe they would get it if it's the Chiefs.
I mean, why not? I mean, at least from now into the foreseeable future, right? I mean, that's as marquee as it gets, I think, in the league. So yeah, fine. And I'm completely open to the idea of the Bills being involved in that this year on Christmas with the Chiefs, even if you want. Like that fantastic. That's a team that's on the home schedule. And I don't want every one of these marquee games to be in some marquee standalone spot. I do like my, a healthy dose of Sunday 1:00, but that gets harder and harder to maintain when you got a team that's at the level the Bills have been at. So, if I had to pick, I'd much rather play on Christmas Day than Thanksgiving. I'll just say that. It's a very different day for me anyway, as just a dad and someone who lives in a house that hosts Thanksgiving. That is really cumbersome and just not. I just don't enjoy that.
Christmas is kind of over by 1.
Yeah, Christmas, I'm in the clear. That's not Christmas. We don't even we're in pajamas or sweatpants all day. Christmas. We'll eat a lasagna at 6:00 in sweatpants and pajamas. It's not a day that we need to go do a big thing. So for me, whatever, fine. You want to put a Bills game on? I'll go host post-game show. After whenever that is, unless it's at night, and then we got to talk. But I'm open to that. I like that idea.
I would doubt very much that the Bills would play the Chiefs on Christmas. It's too good. And it's too late, I think. I always come back to that one point, and I've been proven wrong at times. Certain games are too good for certain slots. I think it would be not surprising at all if the Bills and the Chiefs both played on Christmas.
But separate games?
In separate games. Unless they wanted to try a doubleheader. Just play them twice in a row.
I see.
It'd be unprecedented. A division, the 2 Dolphin games, both on Christmas. One, that's too far. New York, 1:00 Bills at Jets, 8:00 Jets at Bills.
I see.
That we've never seen before.
No,
I think Chiefs Bills is still about the game of the year in the league. I think it's still right there. No, is there does it have to be the Eagles now? There are always the certain rivalry games, division games that
it's a contender for game of the year. That's the best. There's games that maybe will look better on paper this year than that, but it's up there. the top 5 game in the league.
It is, again, an AFC Championship game rematch, too. Like, it's not just the 5 years, but another playoff game, AFC title. So I would think they would do with that game what they normally do, which is, I don't know, November.
Yeah,
425.
You corrected me on this a couple of weeks ago when this came up for some other reason. I don't know why, but not that we ever need a great reason to dive into talking about the schedule.
Oh,
but
so true.
One of the games, maybe was it a game here or there? I forget. Within the last couple of years, that was a Sunday night game.
So in 2021, they played a Sunday night game in October in Kansas City after the AFC Championship game the previous year, and the Bills won easily.
Right.
It was the most one-sided game of them all.
But other than that, they've all been CBS 425, I think, or I don't know if they played at 1 o'clock. I feel like they've all been
since
marquee games like on the network. And I just wonder if CBS can continue to just always get that. You know, like they're sort of squatting on that game, and it is one of the games of the year, and I could see Netflix and Prime and like all the Peacock, whoever else. I mean, you're talking Christmas, it's Prime and Netflix exclusively. But someone saying like, enough with you squatting on the Chiefs and the Bills. So we got to spread this around. It's one of the games of the year. So that I feel like cracks the door open a little bit. But the point about it being later in the year is a good one. Although, I mean, I don't know.
No, Kansas City Pittsburgh was not the same.
No, I was not going to say that. I thought of that. What were the games? No, not even close. But why is it too late in the year? Like if there are 2 teams that are vying for the 1 seed, I mean that's pretty juicy.
It's more interesting if it's earlier. Then you have time to analyze it and to go forward from there for 5 or 6 more games. And it's too close for such a big matchup. I think it's too close to the playoffs. I'm not sure there's really good logic there, but it's kind of what has always happened, or almost. I mean, find me an exception. All the Patriot Colt years or Dallas San Francisco, if they played in the regular season, it wouldn't be at the end,
right,
or at the very beginning. It would be in the middle, and I like how they've done that. I mean, it seems like it's been great. Those games are into the season. Both teams have, again, stayed good, and so the game was important. And, maybe a playoff preview or even probably a playoff preview, but not just like so close to the end where it might be a little anticlimactic to play, 3 weeks later or something. I know it's the playoffs, and that sounds maybe weak. But.
I wouldn't agree with anything being anticlimactic about it.
And there are playoff games that happen where they just played the week before.
Sure.
I mean, that does happen.
Yeah, I like it for the 1 seed, the drama of the 1 seed. Like if they have, if they're a game apart going in, then either way, you've got a ready-made, not that you'll be home free for the 1, but still, like, I don't know. I think that could be pretty juicy.
If you wait too long, it could be like closer to meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't be week 18 Christmas, but What is it, week 16?
It's
probably?
week 16. There'll be 2 more games after, I think, is how that usually goes.
And if both teams aren't really good, then you kind of wasted Chiefs-Bills. And, it's not a given that they both will have, great seasons. You probably expect it. So, yeah, that's another reason. I think that's a fine point, just not to risk having the game not be big. If you play the game in October, it's going to be big, you know?
Right.
And nobody will be out of it by then. So that's what I would do. It's the first time having to incorporate Hallmark Channel strategy into schedule predictions.
Right. What did I miss while I was gone? Because I think I saw Sal tweet about this today. Like the Chiefs, everything we've just been talking about. The Chiefs want to quote unquote own Christmas, and Sal mentioned something in the tweet about the Chiefs are on the Bills' home schedule, and they're the Hallmark movie.
There's going to be a Bills version of the Chiefs. Well, it's probably not going to be the same, but the Chiefs had that Hallmark movie last year, and the Bills will have one this year. That's happening.
Am I horrible at my job if I don't remember the Chiefs Hallmark movie at all?
No, I'd respect it. I mean, you didn't watch it. I didn't watch it, but you might have remembered hearing about it.
I guess I don't even. I am off around the holidays too, so but I don't.
You're not a Hallmark guy.
I don't remember
yet.
I don't know. Maybe I saw some snippets of it on social media and didn't know what the hell I was looking at even. But I did not know they made a Hallmark movie about the Chiefs. And
Yeah.
I did see.
I don't know if it's about the Chiefs, but
they were featured
in or around the Chiefs.
Yeah, all right.
And now there'll be a Bills one.
Chiefs adjacent.
Pete Gwelly, the COO of the Bills and Sabres, Sal interviewed him. There's a transcript at our website, and that's part of it, is the Hallmark thing. Like how that,
all right.
He had connections there, and they already were here to film some of it. They went to East Aurora, and it snowed.
Wow, perfect.
So you know it's going to be good.
Right.
You know it's going to be good.
Sounds great.
Do you know, like, have friends that you know are into the Hallmark movies, into that scene? I have one. Actually, two. Both are relatives, male relatives, who I know to be fans of the Hallmark movie, like serious fans about the Hallmark movies.
I don't know. I don't know anyone in my inner circle that is really into the Hallmark movies. I
am not. It's not me.
I cannot. No, I don't. Unless I'm forgetting someone. And my apologies if so. I don't mean to offend you. I don't think I know anyone. I know one content creator locally that I see tweeting about the Hallmark movies at holiday time. So I'm assuming that means that this dude is a fan of the holiday movies. But other than that, and I don't really know this guy. We've met, but I don't know the guy well enough to call him a friend.
Okay.
I would say.
Is it Craig Rivet?
It is not. It's not yesterday's mystery guest or mystery subject. He wasn't a guest, really.
Is it Gary Galley?
It's not.
I'm stumped.
No, Pat Moran, Talking Buffalo, the longtime podcast host, and he does power ranks the Hallmark movies. I think.
Oh wow!
I think that happens.
Well, I'm into weird stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you missed that one. Well, you were away for a while.
Yeah.
Chris Trapasso, Sal Capaccio today, and maybe you as well. 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of one Bills
where, like, nobody believes in you or, like, only one person believes in you, it means a lot. A moment like this, like a life-changing moment. Like, let's be for real. Like, this is a life-changing moment. Like, let's just put all things to the side. Like, let's clear the air. Let's address the elephant in the room. Like, this is a life-changer. Like, family, legacy, everything. And again, all it takes is one person to believe in you. It means a lot.
Christian Benford, 6th-round pick, 2022, 185 overall, out of Villanova, to this massive 4-year contract extension with the Bills. He spoke today. Sal will join us at 5, talk a little bit about Benford. They still have the other corner position to figure out. I mean, assuming they haven't figured it out just, in their offices or something. Looks like a position of need at this point. And I wondered the other day when Brandon Beane said, in reference to James Cook's situation, we're on to the draft now, if that meant corner also. That they are just sort of after the meetings in Florida that Sal also went to, now it's like, all right, we got 3 weeks. This is about, plans for the draft. And, I mean,
we're done in the Rasul Douglas, Stephon Gilmore aisle.
I just wonder, I don't need to take it so literally to think that, but, he might have been talking generally about, where they were, what they were thinking. The draft, though, I mean, there will be options at pick 30. Second day in a row, I saw a new name in a mock draft for them. This was a PFF one. Yesterday was Lance Zierlein, NFL.com. You want it?
Sure.
Landon Jackson, edge rusher. Is he? Okay.
Arkansas, yeah.
Could you just do that for any player, you think?
No, but this is a player that I have spent some time with.
Okay. I just know the running backs. I'm spending my time on the running backs.
Go figure.
For whatever reasons. Landon Jackson, edge rusher, 2 days in a row with an edge rusher for the Bills at 30. You like it?
It's a position of need. It really depends on. I'm not dug in enough to know at this point, and I don't know if I'll get there. I could pretend like, you got to get the corners drop off after the first two guys. I don't know. I'm not dug in on. I think corner's a bigger need than edge, but that doesn't mean the better player at 30. If they just stay there, will be a corner necessarily. Edge is to me, corner should be the priority, but if it doesn't fall right, well, that's how it goes. I don't want you to reach, I'm hoping you didn't 3 years ago when you did this with Elam, or 4 years ago with Elam, but it didn't go well, obviously. So even though it's the most obvious need, starting position really available on the roster, if you want to do something else, I'm going to have to sit here and listen and maybe nod my head or shake my head, depending, but this edge to me is perfectly defensible. I think defensive tackle's a bigger need than edge even. So I would go corner, tackle, edge. Prioritizing defensive needs myself. Notice how I'm not mentioning safety, even though I love Nick Emenworry. And
I am noticing that. That's all I can think about.
But edge is a perfectly defensible idea. I'd be very surprised if they did something other than one of those three spots. Corner, tackle, edge. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't have it in me to be outraged about the idea of them not drafting a corner, but it's the biggest need. But I like this player, this Arkansas kid, just fine. Like reading about him and watching a little bit of some of the cut-ups on him, he looks pretty promising.
Landon Jackson. All right.
Long. He's got long arms. Long arms, I think.
You want that?
It's a plus.
Another name for the pile here. Chris Trapasso at 4 today. Let's go to Steve next. Hi, Steve. Steve?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Going good. Thanks. You're on the radio.
I have nothing to do about the draft or anything. I'm just wondering how you two guys can possibly think that the Bills are going to be in the running for first place in the AFC. Have you looked at their schedule? They'll be lucky if they win 10 games.
Isn't a better question to ask someone how they could possibly think that there's no chance the Bills would be good? Isn't that a better question? Their over-under win total is 11.5. You think it's us?
again, let me say they're going to be good, but they are not going to be able to beat the teams that happen to be in their schedule this year.
How do you know that? You don't think they'd be favored against Cincinnati at home or Baltimore?
No.
Really?
No. Yes.
Well, again, the better question is why not? Like they were favored against the Ravens in the playoffs. They just played them. Like the better question would be why wouldn't you think this?
Because the Ravens lost on a flub.
Okay, well, I find it kind of ridiculous to think.
Better offense.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Steve. The better question is, why would you think they'd be bad, or if not bad, the other way? That's the better question.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, every year you can. The schedule looks daunting. No argument, Steve. I mean, you run down the opponents. And I already said, I don't need every one of these games to be some marquee standalone game. The opponents all would justify it. I doubt it'll happen that way. So it looks hard, but it's April.
It's baked into the line.
Right. And who knows what. Last year, San Francisco looked like one of the hardest games on the schedule. And they came in here broken down and collapsing. So, it's just a little early to be daunted by the schedule. The Bills have been near the top of the conference for 5 or 6 years running now. I'm willing to bet that they'll be at least somewhat in that same area, despite having the mighty Eagles on their schedule and the Bengals and all the teams they got to play. They'll be really good.
Well, they're only going to be, like the caller predicts, they'll be an underdog against the Bengals. They're only going to be an underdog against the Bengals if the season is like half over and Cincinnati is like clearly better. Then they go on the road to Buffalo and, against Allen. Allen's healthy, or does he have to be injured? Like, in that kind of scenario, that can vary. I don't know. I'm just saying, the better question is to ask somebody that thinks, with such confidence that they'll be down, why? I could see it. I mean, it's not like I know what's going to happen. I mean, at any team, Sam Panayotovich asked a couple of weeks ago what we would do with 11.5, and I said I would go under. And I said, just sort of a knee-jerk answer to his question. And I said I would go under, I think, on any team, 11.5. I always just sort of have that instinct that somebody could get hurt, parity, schedule, whatever, that there are factors.
Well, it's hard.
The division getting better.
Right. I don't want to assume a great season. And 12 wins is a great season. I've even with 17 games, I think I've said, don't split hairs. You win 12 games, you had a great year. I don't know what's going to happen when the playoffs get here or where that will get you seeding-wise, but that's a great year. So it is sort of assuming. You're assuming the over. You're assuming in contention for the 1 seed. You're assuming a great season. Okay, guilty. It's the track record, the schedule, whoever's put in front of them, they find their way to be in contention for that. I mean, last year, I don't know, were they in contention for it? They never got close, really. So the one, yeah.
You'd have to say they were, wouldn't you? They were right there on the cusp of it all year. They never got to a point where one win would do it.
Right.
But no one else was closer.
Right.
At least.
So anyway, this early in the year, yeah. I mean, I'm fine talking about the schedule in such a way that competing for the 1 seed is still part of it. I've not given up on that yet in April, just because James Cook might be mad. I'm not ready to give up on things that the Bills could do to make their lives easier come playoff time. The one thing they've not done is get the 1 seed. Us wanting it really badly doesn't mean a damn thing to the whole scenario, but just, I don't know. I'm getting more aggravated by the call, and he's been gone longer than he was on. But
I'm just thinking, how weird would it be to listen to me or you talk like that? Every day, just sort of having the take that they're actually going to they have no chance at it. Even in another market, how weird would that be?
Right.
Right? I mean, objectively, win total, AFC championship, is the team any different? Really? substantially than the team that just went to the AFC Championship, right? I bring up the division point because the division was such a mess, and you rightly point out, does it have to be better? Do the Jets and the Patriots really have to be better? Or the Dolphins? That's fair. It would be so strange to listen to somebody on the air.
They're doomed.
Be like, yeah, well, I can't. What did he say? How is it possible for you guys to talk like that? How is it possible?
Have you watched the team play
do you follow sports?
The last 5 years?
That's how it's possible. How weird would it be for somebody to sound like that? I don't know. I'm glad for the variety. I'm glad for someone different. How is it possible for you guys to sound like you think they're going to be good? I don't know. Good question. Chris Trapasso at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here managing. This is WGR.
More of Schopp and the Bulldog coming up.
And another thing. I mean, it's just so weird sometimes. The schedule has big money games on it. I mean, those four opponents, how could you do better? Last year at the stadium, they each could be prime time, wouldn't surprise anybody. Any of them could be night games. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Philadelphia. They're all at home. Like, if they go to those four stadiums, which could have happened, just like the randomness of the schedule, if instead they go to Baltimore, Cincinnati, KC, Philly, they're not going to be favored in all those games. Maybe even none of them if they start out bumpy or something. But the fact that they're all home games, it's just so strange sometimes. It's so strange sometimes in here. Not usually. Well, that's what strange means, right? It's not every day.
That's right.
That's what makes it strange.
What makes it stand out, yes.
Here's Dennis. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, guys. So I know that it's not necessary to call in when people make ridiculous calls to defend the Bills, but that one just irks me. I'm driving and I hear that stuff, and when people make comments without having context, I don't understand where that comes from. Not just as a Bills defender, but you have to look at statistics and things that back up your point. And one statistic I would point to, this is all I really want to say, is that last year the Bills were one of four teams that had a 2-score per game differential in point scoring. Right? We were at 9.3 point differential per game last year. That put us third in the whole league. There is no way that that's going to change this year. It's not like we're going to go down to 3 points per game differential. We have basically the same offense and basically the same defense coming back. Same quarterback, same coach, same system. I don't really see how we could all of a sudden go from the third best differential team in the league to, we can't even make it out of the AFC East or something. That's just not going to happen.
I think, thanks, Dennis, the turnover good fortune they had last year.
That's where I think really, you would start if you were trying to pick it apart.
But, I'm sorry, I'm just so specific to the wording. How is it possible to think they'll be good? How about this for a stat? Last 5 years, they're 61-22. Would that be sort of a normal thing you could mention in a conversation about that?
I think so.
61-22 over the last 5 years. Maybe it's not crazy to think a team with that record would be good.
And the other, I think the thing about it I am still, you can tell, I think, I'm still irritated about it. This is one call that lasted 40 seconds, or not even, I don't know, and I'm still annoyed. Well, because Dennis used the word context. The context of the discussion here is the schedule and the merits and the marquee value of the teams on the Bills' schedule and the Bills' own marquee value. I am not lining up the defensive starters for the Bills against the Philadelphia offense and telling you where they have an edge in team building and roster construction and draft pick allocate, any of it. It's just simply, they've been great. These other teams have been great. When do I want to play them? When would the league want to have the Chiefs and Bills play? Maybe Christmas, because the number one seed could be. I'm just trying to be in the room with the people making the decision. This is not hardcore football analysis happening here on the Bills' build here and whether their window is still open or shut. It was just a generic conversation about when games might be played and where the league might like them placed for optimal eyeballs. That's all.
Okay. I'm trying to think of a sort of a real-life comparison where a question would be asked, but it's so obviously a better question the opposite way. I mean, probably a million of them. I'm just sort of stumped at the moment, unfortunately. But, why would you put – this is bad. I don't have it. Why would you put ketchup on fries? Who would possibly want that? X number of million people do this constantly.
They even wrestle with those stupid little packets.
Maybe
because they want the ketchup so badly.
Maybe the thing here would be I don't know. I'm not into it. Not how could you possibly eat ketchup? I don't. Not.
Yeah, you
not
said
proud of it.
You said you didn't have it. I
I'm
know it works.
But
it's functional.
Something is so commonly thought. I don't. Whatever. The horse is dead. The horse is long dead. R.I.P. horse.
Well, we got Trapasso coming up anyway.
Yeah.
Like I promise, I'm
done?
I'm cleansed. I think that last point is all I really wanted to get out about, like, defending the conversation, which was, again, not whatever. Anyway,
why would you take the 190 to get to the arena? Well, because
it rolls right past the arena.
The fastest way to do it.
Yeah.
Why would you think to do that? All right, enough. You said you were done. I'll be done.
I'm done.
I'll be done.
Yeah.
All right. Chris Trapasso, CBSSports.com, NFL Draft after sports here on WGR.
The Buffalo Bills made the 4-year extension for cornerback Christian Benford official today. He did speak with the media earlier this afternoon. If you did miss any of that, you can find it at our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. And then some draft news as Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is reporting. The Bills have had Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond. He'll be in on a pre-draft visit at some point next week. We'll get more on the Bills when Sal Capaccio joins the show at 5 p.m. In baseball, Bison's got going early this afternoon. They're on the road versus Memphis, but they are down 12-3 in the 7th. You can listen to the rest of that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. We did have some extensions announced earlier today. The Red Sox locking down rookie second baseman Christian Campbell, 8-year, $60 million contract, while the Padres ink outfielder Jackson Merrill to a 9-year, $135 million deal. And then currently going on right now, the Blue Jays in action. They lead Washington 1-0 in the 4th. That game is in Toronto. And then later tonight in college hoops, the Fab Four for the women's NIT sees UB hosting Cleveland State at 6. You can listen to that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Conversation about mayonnaise here.
And the Bulldog.
And don't even talk to me about weed.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, 3 weeks and a day to go until the first round of the NFL draft. New names popping up all the time for the Bills at pick 30. Bulldog knows his edge rusher, as we learned earlier today.
Some of them, anyway. Yeah.
And I am diving deep on running backs just for the heck of it. Chris Trapasso, who dives deeper than each of us here on the Western Hotline, CBSSports.com.
So deep that there's a name in the 30 hole in his latest mock draft that I have not, prior to this very moment, even seen.
Chris, explain yourself.
Going off the board.
What's going on here?
I mean, the board. You're the guy with the board. I don't know what the hell I'm even saying. Hi, Chris.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me again. Like I always tend to say this time of year, I do a ton of mock drafts, one per week, starting really at the beginning of the football season, believe it or not. Walter Nolan is kind of the opposite type defensive tackle. That's who I had the Bills picking at 30 in this week's mock. That the opposite type of defensive tackle that Sean McDermott spoke about at the owners' meetings, having that size that we've all talked about for months now next to Ed Oliver. I just like him because he provides more push up field, and you don't just have to rely on Ed Oliver to have a big game in those key moments. It would be nice to have someone who's not just stationary and just a big body and just a good run defender. If Kenneth Grant is not there, if Derek Harmon is not there, I think Walter Nolan would make a lot of sense just because of his pure explosiveness at defensive tackle.
Well, I totally botched that introduction here because in the 30 hole, the name that I hadn't seen, I missed the part where it was a trade. And I also missed the Vikings logo next to it. You get the Bills moving up with Minnesota to draft Emin Worry in this draft that you posted just yesterday, I believe. I'm looking.
They maybe update that.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, this was last week.
One today, yeah.
We had Emin Worry because we made fun of Bulldog for not being with us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Yeah, well, you're right. They have the date 4/1/25 here, but anyway.
We've definitely talked about Walter Nolan because I do it in the
same here.
The Oprah voice.
Yeah, so the name I haven't seen before, whole thing is just a botch. Can we just start over? Can we play the intro again?
Well, you have the same conversation, really, defensive line, corner. There's also edge rusher has popped up on a couple of mock drafts I've seen in the last few days. And I don't know, what do you think of that idea for the Bills, considering their needs and, the relative strength of the depth at each position?
Sure. So I try not to let anything that happens during the pre-draft process, barring a terrible or an amazing combine or pro day, really change my evaluation. And at the beginning of the draft season, after watching film of James Pierce from Tennessee, the edge rusher, I tweeted, I think this was in late January, early February, if James Pierce is there at 30, and so I guess it was after the Bills were solidified at the 30th pick, I tweeted, if he's there at 30, the Bills need to call in the pick regardless of who's on the board. He's my favorite player in this class. He has upside through the roof, but like you're kind of hinting at, we've heard lately the Bob McGinn series on Tyler Dunn's website, golongtd.com, hinting at maybe some maturity concerns. But the thing and I certainly don't dive into all of those things because I think it's too much of a game of telephone to try to figure out what's real and what's not. Mm-hmm. James Pierce was never suspended. He was never kicked off the team. He played every single game that he was available for in terms of his health. So for as much as he's getting knocked out, I'm kind of leaning toward this being some type of smear campaign for a player that's 6'5", 240 with a crazy amount of production in the SEC to maybe slip down the board.
Yeah, I don't know if it was from Tyler's series with Bob that you just referenced or not, but I saw something about his workout stuff today on social. Like that someone from around the program, or I'm not sure who it should be attributed to, and this is where the game of telephone comes in, Chris, but that he just was like always doing his own thing. He's not like on the program in the weight room with the other guys. He's working on his own and kind of just has his own ideas about how to get, be in shape, stay in shape, and that kind of stuff. And I don't know,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
I saw the same thing.
I don't know how much of a big deal that has to be, provided the guy's taking care of himself. He's not just sitting around eating ice cream.
And he tested well in Indianapolis and had a pressure rate of over 21% in the SEC the last 2 seasons. That is astronomically high for the edge rusher spot. So he's one that Schopp is kind of hinting at, hey, maybe edge rusher. If he's there at 30, even if the Bills are a little concerned, all right, maybe the work ethic isn't what we like, doesn't right now fit the culture, he would kind of feel like almost a Manwari in a way that he is so athletic with so much upside that I think they would have to seriously consider him.
Chris Trapasso with us. So we've talked more about running back lately than anything else, and not so much about the specific prospects and the Bills, but the possibility that James Cook will just not be around. I mean, it's possible, maybe not likely. I think it became more of a possibility this week with some of the comments Brandon Beane made. What are your thoughts, knowing the history, the position, everything we've talked about many times generally, your thoughts on the Bills and running back, when it might make sense to do it, if at all?
Well, when you bring up the history, I just think to Brandon Beane's draft history of going Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and then James Cook in 3 out of 4 years, that for as much as you guys normally would be talking about, hey, are the Bills going to draft Travis Etienne? Is it going to be Najee Harris? Breece Hall? He's always just said, all right, I'm going to pick one in the 2nd or 3rd round and just kind of replenish that position. Now, he was in Carolina when they picked Christian McCaffrey in round 1. He was in Carolina when they had D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, 2 highly picked, highly regarded talents at that position. But it feels like Brandon Beane, and I think the whole Bills operation, has shown that they have evolved in their team-building process and how they kind of do things. I think 4th round would make a lot of sense and would just give you that insurance, and maybe that would signal the earlier that pick is, like you're hinting at, the idea that maybe Brandon Beane's like, hey, I need to just make this selection at running back as a contingency plan if James Cook won't budge off that $15 to $16, $17 million per year deal. I mean, we even saw him pick Ray Davis last year in the 4th round, and he played pretty well. So I think even though it's easy to have recency bias and with Saquon and Derrick Henry, and we've talked about that a lot, just picking a running back between the 2nd and 4th round every couple of years, and I think you're normally fine at that position.
I think given the current room, if you assume Cook's presence, they re-signed Tyler Johnson, they just drafted Ray Davis, I think the only reason the Bills would draft a running back, I want to say almost at all, Chris, is if they're worried about Cook. Because I don't think a running back drafted, whether he's drafted in the 4th round or the 7th round, is making this team if they're all here. And I don't know, depending on how high you draft the guy, the idea of stashing him on your practice squad might be far-fetched. I don't know, maybe the market will be flooded with talented running backs, and you won't have a problem doing that. But I feel like I'd want to take it as at least some sign of concern, because if not, they're as all set at running back as maybe they've been since Beane and McDermott got here, as far as defined roles and everything.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point with that when it comes down to the numbers game and how many running backs you want in your room, and you got to fit in under 53, obviously, before the start of the season, I think even a 4th or a 5th rounder would have a hard time making the roster, but that then bleeds into, in my mind, which I hadn't thought of that, which is a good point, but it bleeds into how many of these 10 picks are the Bills going to actually make? Is this finally a draft where Brandon Beane is like, okay, we've traded up before, but like we really just could love someone like, I don't know if Caleb Johnson falls or Quinshon Judkins later, Brashard Smith from SMU, who's kind of like a James Cook-like running back who can play receiver a little bit. He's not going to make the team. So how many of those picks will they ultimately select? And for as much as I'm the biggest trade-down advocate you're going to find, there are some hurdles that a team like the Bills has to get over that certainly has holes on defense, but not a lot of open roster spots to fill, 4, 5, 6 guys on the offensive side.
Speaking of running backs, as we kind of were, the Cowboys' new head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, made a comment about, you would have liked it if you didn't see it. He understanding positional value and the depth at running back, especially this year, that kind of stuff. Who knows if it's a smokescreen or not? That's always, to be considered, if you can even know. But maybe the Cowboys don't really want to get to Jeanty here at 12. Most mock drafts, including maybe each of yours, he goes, if not at 12, before 12. You have him going to the Bears today.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember from all the mocks that I've done if I've ever had one where he's gone later than 12. And that could be a situation in Dallas, which, by the way, to me, hats off to Brian Schottenheimer. I wasn't expecting that from him, but I think that is exactly how you should look at it. And he being in that head coaching role is still mind-boggling to me. But we could also have, with it being the Cowboys, that everyone could be on board with we're not picking Ashton Jeanty, and then Jerry Jones can pick up the phone and call in the pick for Ashton Jeanty because Jerry Jones. Like that wouldn't be surprising. I always go back to, and he was ultimately stopped from doing this, 2014 when Jerry Jones desperately wanted Johnny Manziel, and his son Will McClay, who's been there forever, that's one of the scouting guys there in Dallas, said no, we're going to pick Zach Martin. It's not sexy at all, but I think he's going to be a better player in the NFL than Johnny Manziel. So it's good that I think Brian Schottenheimer said that, but I don't think that necessarily will stop Jerry Jones from picking Jeanty if he gets to 12 with the Cowboys.
I know you just alluded to it when you mentioned the kid Smith from SMU as far as pass catching. Like who are a few running backs who might be, I'll just carry this scenario, this doomsday scenario where they're in an impasse with Cook right to the finish line here with you today, Chris. Who are the best James Cook replacements at running back in this draft?
Well, I think first is Brashard Smith from SMU in that you watch him on film, they utilized him as a wide receiver, like in the slot, running whip routes, running out routes, wheels down the sideline that we know are a very, I don't want to say huge part of the Bills' offense, but they utilize running backs on verticals relatively often. And then just a few miles or a few hours east, LaQuint Allen from Syracuse is probably the next best receiving running back in this class, in that he also ran routes out of the slot at Syracuse, has really good hands. We saw Cameron Skadaboo from Arizona State in that bowl game against Texas. He tracks it really well. And then the one that's really interesting to me, and the Bills haven't really leaned into this that much, I guess James Cook is kind of this player, Jaden Blue from Texas. He reminds me of J.D. McKissick, who the Bills signed and then he never showed up and then went back to Washington, that whole fiasco. Jaden Blue is really fast. He's small, but in the screen game, those angle routes out of the backfield that Christian McCaffrey is so good on, those three, I think, would be the, in their own territory, or 3 or 4 of just legitimate high-caliber receivers that are running back prospects in this class.
I want this to be a little cheeky. It's a little bit more than I'm sure I think or want to say. Travion Henderson, who maybe is a second-round pick in this draft, would be the best receiver on the Bills.
Yeah, he's the next. I'm looking at my receiving ability category in my scouting gradebook here, and he was the next guy that I could have listed. Yep. I think with Henderson, in terms of running routes and making contested catches or tracking it over his shoulder, I don't think he's to the level of Brashard Smith, LaQuint Allen, or Jaden Blue, even Cam Skadaboo. But Henderson in the screen game was electric at Ohio State. He reads all of the movement that's happening on screens and following his blockers, cutting off of them, as well as any back in this class. So he would kind of give you the traditional receiving ability at the running back spot, and then once he hits the afterburners, he's really fast down the field.
We want that.
I think we do want that, yes.
Who's your running back 3 behind, I'm assuming, Jeanty and Hampton?
It's actually my running back 2 is Bashal Tutin, and my running back 3 is Jarquez Hunter from Auburn.
What are you doing here? Jarquez Hunter. All right. I mean, that's pretty wild. All right.
Well, it seems like Hampton is the odds-on favorite to be the second back off the board. I think he is solid across the board. I don't see anything that's, oh my gosh, this guy should be, the 20th pick to the Steelers or anything like that. And
okay.
Bashal Tutin, big-time combine, Jarquez Hunter, very elusive, contact balance is awesome in the SEC, and he tested pretty well, too.
I mentioned Tutin to you, Bulldog, yesterday, or Monday maybe, just
4.32.
Let's go.
3-inch vertical.
Monday. I wasn't here.
Tuesday.
I wasn't here Monday.
Yesterday.
So I couldn't have been that.
Someday.
How do you feel about Scatabo? You mentioned him at some point within this conversation, and for some reason today was just a day where I was seeing his highlights on social media. So I guess I'm curious about him and your opinion of him.
Okay, so my comparison for Scatabo is David Montgomery. He is stocky. He is a side-to-side, lateral, elusive type player. And just, again, I think talking running backs is good for Schopp so we can keep a mental note for all of his fantasy drafts. Jarquez Hunter, for me, is Kyron Williams. He's very, very similar runner to Kyron Williams. I have Bashal Tutin comped to Isaiah Pacheco, who's faster than you would think because he's so powerful, and we know that Tutin ran, 4.32 at the combine. But Scatabo is not going to hit home runs. He's going to be one of the slower, presumably eventual starting running backs in the NFL. But contact balance, vision, and just that ability to jump cut, to make a linebacker whiff in the hole is really as good as any other player in this class at that specific skill. So I think very similar, like somewhere in the Zach Moss to David Montgomery range.
All right, so productive, he'll keep the chains moving for you, but he's not going to run away and hide from anyone, basically.
No, yeah, totally.
Can't wait for the draft to see, is Tutin coming? We will have to find out in a few weeks. Sorry.
Yeah, I got to go.
Let's talk about the top of the draft here. You've got Travis Hunter up to Cleveland. Do you feel like that's where we're headed?
I think so. I think to Cleveland for Travis Hunter and to play wide receiver. And I keep going back to, and we know it's smokescreen season and it starts right when the playoffs end. But Andrew Berry, their GM at the Combine, saying, we have Travis Hunter graded as a wide receiver. And then he explained himself and said, because his best trait are his ball skills, and he's obviously going to be able to utilize those more at receiver than at corner. And I think he's very similar to Garrett Wilson when he came out of the NFL or came out in the draft. And he's smooth. He can be explosive. He tracks it awesomely, of course, with those ball skills. And we didn't get to see him work out, but I think he would have tested through the roof. So at this point, the Browns are still relatively hard to peg because we don't know how they view the quarterback spot beyond knowing that their owner has fully admitted to Deshaun Watson being a miss 4 years later. I think Travis Hunter at 2 just makes a lot of sense. It would be best player available, and it would fill a need that would have a ripple effect over the next couple of seasons as they presumably draft their quarterback next year early in the draft.
Chris, if the top 3 are Ward, Abdul-Carter, and Hunter in some order, it seems like yourself, I know today, and most mocks put offensive tackle on New England at 4. Not always the same guy. If the Giants, hypothetically, were to take Shadur Sanders, or maybe he moves into the top 3, leaving either Carter or Hunter, would New England pivot?
Ooh, good question. I would first say no, but then I'm remembering, Mike Vrabel is their head coach, and he brings over Harold Landry from Tennessee, who's a good edge rusher, but he's not a total game changer. And I think if Abdul-Carter was there, he would be probably standing on the table for, we need some more pass rushing help because that helps our defense. So our young quarterback is not in as many holes in terms of, it's suddenly 21-0 in the start of the second quarter. But I think it will come down to one of those 2 positions in the trenches for the Patriots because despite all the moves that they made in free agency, they still have a fair amount of needs just at offensive tackle and at edge rusher.
So there is a scenario where Hunter would somehow escape the top 4 conceivably. You're back on Shedeur Sanders to the Saints at 9.
Yeah, so it feels like this Saints regime, they've kicked the can down the road for so long, and it feels like Derek Carr, this is definitely his last season in New Orleans, that even though Shedeur Sanders does come in with the highest floor and the most pro-ready game in his quarterback class, it wouldn't hurt if he just sits and waits and learns and practices from a veteran in Derek Carr and then ultimately takes over that job. It's still a very cheap option at the quarterback position in year 2. It just feels like the Saints are kind of floating in purgatory. Like, what are they rebuilding? Are they trying to contend in what's kind of a down AFC South? Sanders would just make sense for a team that's consistently in kind of cap hell, where they could get someone at the game's most vital position, the game's most expensive position, on a cost-controlled deal for 4 or 5 years.
How do you feel about the chances of these quarterbacks succeeding at this point, Chris? Has anything changed? You said already earlier in our conversation you try to not let any of the noise and all the stuff change your outlook on guys that you've been studying already for months now. But these two guys, I mean, I know we've touched on them in the past here and surely will again before April 24th comes around, but Ward, Sanders, like, do you feel like teams are going to be like, we got our guy, or is there buyer beware for you?
I think it's buyer beware. I think we're going to look back on this class more closely to 2022, and I don't know if we've talked about this at length before, but in that class with Kenny Pickett being the only first rounder, and for the longest time we were trying to talk ourselves into Malik Willis and Desmond Ridder and Matt Corral, Sam Howell. I think it's more, and I'm not saying it's media driven. I mean, I'm in the media too, but like, if there's a draft class where just none of the quarterbacks are good, it takes and just saps so much of the hype and the momentum going into a draft, where I think, sure, the Titans are going to say, oh my God, we're so excited. But if you just look at Cam Ward in a vacuum and say, let's compare him to the last 5 years of quarterback prospects, would he be ahead of some guys who went in the first round? Sure, but he would be near the bottom of that list. So would Shedeur Sanders. So sure, if the offensive line is great, if receivers are great, which in Tennessee they still have a ways to go, and we don't know where Shedeur Sanders is going to land, that they could work out. But I feel as least confident as I normally do compared to what we saw last year, what we saw in 2020, 2021, things like that, where those quarterbacks had the better traits and better track record across multiple seasons in college football.
With that said, would you rather than wait? You know, I don't know where Jackson Dart will go. We don't know where Jaden Milroe will go. Would you rather wait and pick a guy that might need more time but is more affordable asset-wise?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why, and I think saying this to you, Bulldog, is kind of the only safe space that I have for this. It's why Jalen Milroe is my number 2 quarterback, because I think none of the other I mean, I like Cam Ward the most, but it's not like a slam dunk. It's not Trevor Lawrence in terms of being a prospect, or Caleb Williams last year, or Joe Burrow, and exactly what you pointed out. If I was a GM, I mean, and obviously there's how much job security do I have? How long is my leash? That factors in. But yes, Jalen Milroe would be someone round 2 or round 3 that I would say, hey, look, this is not going to preclude us from picking a quarterback if we're really bad and we have a top 10 pick next year. But the Jalen Hurts path for him, I think, is certainly there. He can, at the very least, be a more dynamic version of Justin Fields as a runner to start his career. So I would lean more in that direction. I wouldn't totally sell the farm for Jalen Milroe, but I think he makes more sense than throwing all my eggs into one basket for Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward at the top of the draft.
I can't remember when I've been more flattered than to have you refer to this as a safe space for you to make a complimentary point about Jalen Milroe.
I mean, you too. Well, thank you for this, Chris. Thank you for the fantasy shout-out. You may like to know Brashard Smith is my number 1 drafted rookie running back so far. 30 drafts.
Really?
Yeah.
He's going to catch a lot of passes. I mean, that running back, like every position, and I don't think I've said this yet during the draft process, opportunity based on where you were drafted matters so much. Like, I can love Elijah Badger from Florida, But if he gets picked in the 7th round, like the chances of him becoming really good, even if deep down he has the talent, are extremely low. So Richard Smith in the right position, if he's like Bucky Irving and goes in round 4, and a team has an open mind to saying, hey, look, we're going to give our running backs just a free competition, and it doesn't matter where you were picked, I think Richard Smith can be a really fun dual-threat player as kind of that change of pace receiving back in the NFL.
Drafting before the NFL draft is life on the wire, but, it's relatively low stakes, and we draft a lot of different guys just in case, whatever happens. Fun. That's it. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. We'll talk again next Wednesday.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Chris Trapasso, CBSSports.com. His latest mock draft is up at that site, and it has the Bills on Walter Nolan, defensive tackle. Tackle with their first-round pick. Walter Nolan. Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of Sabres.
Their first-round pick. Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan. Tackle with their first-round pick. Walter Nolan. Tackle with their first-round pick. Walter Nolan.
Well, Bills cornerback Christian Benford officially signed his 4-year extension today. He also spoke with the media. If you missed any of that, you can find it on our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. And as we inch closer to the draft, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN also is reporting the Bills are going to have Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond in on a pre-draft visit at some point next week. We'll get more on the Bills when Sal Capaccio joins the show in just about a half hour at 5 p.m. In baseball, Bisons got going early today on the road versus Memphis. They got down early, though, very quickly, and that game is all but wrapped up 15-3 right now in the 9th. You can listen to the rest of that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Also in baseball, a number of extensions were handed out today. The Red Sox locking down rookie second baseman Christian Campbell, 8-year, $60 million deal, while the Padres ink outfielder Jackson Merrill to a 9-year, $135 million contract. And then in college hoops, the Fab Four of the women's NIT sees UB hosting Cleveland State. That game is going to get going here in just about an hour and a half at 6. You can listen to that game over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Cam Ward's probably going 1. Cleveland takes Carter Hunter, and they're sitting there with Carter or Hunter or Shedeur Sanders. And obviously for me, Carter Hunter have the higher grade. I don't know how they feel about it, but the bottom line is you're in the division with Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and Dak Prescott. You better daggone side sure that they are going to think about closing that gap. And Winston, and DeVito aren't closing that gap too much.
Wilson, Winston, and DeVito. LLC.
Right.
Mel Kiper. Man, the Bulldog, I know you're going to say it too. You want to say it too. The Bisons better get it together. 15-3.
Sounds like a tough one.
The Bills have never played a game that ended 15-3. I just checked Scoregami. Because I had already prepared to tell you the Bisons lost last night 13-7. And I thought, for whatever reason, like, oh, when was the last Bills game that ended 13-7? I was proud of myself because I got it.
Like, without looking, you knew it?
Yes.
Really?
Well, I knew this game was 13-7, and I thought it probably was the most recent. So, yes. Do you have a guess? You have an idea? It's in the McDermott years. I'll give you another hint if you want it.
It's not the terrible game in Jacksonville, right? That wasn't 13-7.
No, this is a win.
Okay.
The game in Urban Meyer?
Yeah.
9-6?
Right. Yeah, right. That's the best I don't know. Them winning 13-7.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have it.
It's their last overtime win.
Oh, wow. Is that Indianapolis snow game? Wow.
Yes. That's their last 13-7 win. What is the most amazing thing about that game? There was so much.
The kicking stuff near the end with the Colts and like the penalty that took the 2-pointer down and then they tried an extra point and missed it.
They made the extra point, but then they got the ball again and missed a field goal.
Okay.
Vinatieri.
Yeah.
In the snow.
Right.
Isn't that what happened? I think that's what happened.
Yeah. I just know there's a lot of there was some penalty good fortune. I want to say near the end there.
Benjamin catching a touchdown pass from Nathan Peterman.
Right.
In the snow, in a blizzard.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. And then that long pass to Deontay Thompson.
Right. Who I liked. I like Deontay Thompson.
Fine. I mean, made a big play.
What do you mean fine? What an insult. McCoy 32 for 156 and the winning touchdown. He broke the run in overtime to win the game.
Yep.
Frank Gore of the Colts 36 for 130. Bill saw that like we got to get that guy.
Right.
We got to get that guy. Look how good he is. We got to get that guy in here. Brissett, the Colt quarterback. That's a great game to look up. The Bills' last 13-7 loss, by the way, I know you're wondering, is he going to tell us? That was an opening day loss in Baltimore when Rex was the coach. So also really not that long ago, 13-7. Right. Doesn't it feel like if you think about football in the 70s, every week there was a game that might have ended 13-7?
Or 6. That finished 13-7, sure, yes. It's not a very common score these days.
No.
Like, that sounds almost borderline unwatchable.
It does, unless there's a blizzard.
In which case,
it's beautiful.
Tons of fun.
Thoughts on the Sabres? So I had a couple. I really liked the game last night. I was able to compartmentalize it and not just obsess about what place they are in the standings and 14 years and everything else.
James Reimer playing a 5th out of 6 games. Things that could bother you.
I don't mean this as a criticism. Reimer makes saves that almost look like he doesn't know he's made the save, right? Like the puck is just in him.
Yeah.
He's not an acrobat, Reimer. Saves are saves. Some great goals in this game.
The play, the Thompson goal is it in hockey. Hockey does not present the opportunities that basketball does to go no, okay, or even no, awesome. That was no, awesome. Like, he's almost all alone in the slot after he dekes out that guy up at the top of the circle, and I'm just like, he's going to go he's taking it to the hole here. He's going to make another guy miss and just go in and fake Hallmark out of his jock, and like this is going to be one of these Tage Thompson goals like we saw, I don't know, a half a dozen times or more in that year where he sort of showed up and planted a flag. I feel like it's been a while since we've had a run of those. A lot of plays he makes this year and even last year look close to that, but they don't have the finish. Anyway, he passes that away like, oh, dude, no. And what a great play by Peterka to just give it right back to him because he's wide open and it's a tap-in. It was just a perfect play. What a pretty play.
Loved Quinn on the second goal.
Oh, my gosh. He abused Shabbat back there. That was tremendous. Yes.
Yeah, literally shoved him away from the puck before coming around from behind the net. I've had nights in my life like Cousins had last night, but mostly I've just repressed the memories. He's just around on everything that went wrong for Ottawa.
Including that hellacious giveaway that sent Krebs in.
Right.
That was just a horrendous pass.
He kind of loses tuck on the first goal. He's right in front of the goalie on the second goal. So, there was a pile of it. I had this thought on the Sabres, too, that I wanted to throw at you. I'm not bringing it up for this reason, but it's another way to just sort of be completely flummoxed by how long it's been. How many Sabres would you say are having career years this year? It's a few.
Career years?
Well, Tuck, isn't he kind of maybe having a career year? 32 with 8 left.
32? I've got. Did I not refresh here?
32 goals.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I didn't refresh from last night.
He's on a tear.
The stats open.
He's got 5 in the last few games here.
Yeah, he's definitely finishing strong. Has he been to? Has he hit 30 before? I feel like he's.
I think he has. I'm going to check that, but I don't mean like just necessarily in terms of most goals. He had 36 for the Sabres, his first full season for the Sabres 2 years ago. So arguably, maybe not.
Yeah, he's having a good year.
All right, Thompson is also probably a maybe not.
Right,
but he's flying.
He's having
a great
great
season.
Again. Yeah, I think Ryan McLeod might be the closest to having a career year.
I think he's definitely right.
The 19 goals and 29 assists. I mean, I was expecting maybe half of that from a guy that was billed like, and that was assuming he would play a lot. Which, of course, he has, but he's been used in different roles, and he has produced offense in a way that I just did not expect, and I'm not entirely sure I want to consider it a bankable commodity because his career just does not tell you that this is who he is. I think I remember even saying when they got him, the idea that he's going to get here and suddenly become a different player doesn't seem very realistic. Well, here we are. He, at least this year, has been that. So he definitely qualifies for that.
I feel like he is pretty bankable, actually.
You think?
At 25? Yeah, I like that they have him.
No, I like him. I'm just saying I'm not writing him in for 20 goals every year, or something, and 60 points or whatever. He's got 40. I think I get to 60 points, but still 50 points. 20 goals, 50 points. I mean, I will take that and run all day if he's going to be around. I just wouldn't expect it.
Let me amend the term career year because you're going right to stats, and that might be what most people would do. Like most goals in a season. Tuck not quite. Zucker, not quite. He's been in the 30s.
Yeah.
But how many, let me try it this way. how many Sabres this season are the best they've ever been? Or about the best they've ever been? Something a little bit softer that gets Thompson in the bucket. Tuck 2. McLeod definitely. Dahlin. Dahlin is elite. And he maybe has had the same year before. Has he had better years? The story for me on Dahlin this year has mostly been like his temper. Or his temperaments. He's the captain and he's smashing his stick and getting upset all the time. Not all the time. But, that's been a topic. Still, though, the player, he's so good. Power. They've got young guys where it's not even really an interesting conversation career year. Kulik. Of course.
Yeah, right.
But you've got...
You got a lot of guys that have had good years.
You got a lot of guys who've had good years for a team that is again in last.
You sort of threw me with career, but they've got a lot of guys. Yeah, this is the riddle with them always. You can always go to, I still see I see enough good players. I think I see enough good players. When I look at their team and I watch them play, I think they've got enough good players. So, what the hell is going on? Why doesn't it work? You lose 13 games in a row. That'll happen.
I settle for this because, it has been different things, different days, different years. I think they have almost enough good players. They've always had a few top, close to top-end players or top-end players for a lot of these years, unless they were just the tank year where they had nothing.
Right.
But you need one or two more. And that's where they've stopped short. That's a money thing. That's an effort thing. Figure out a way to one or two more, then I think you're there. Because there is enough with that. And that makes sense to me. It's easy to make a blanket statement, and these teams are all different. Coaching is different. But, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is you've got guys here who are delivering, and it's still just not going to be enough. And one more good forward.
Yeah.
Or just a different combination defensively. And, you're probably, what do you need, really? You need 3 more wins, basically, is all you've needed to be in right now with this.
Right.
And that's where I'd want, the one more guy who, gets that late goal for you or whatever it is. So, yeah, such is life with the Sabres, where it's just
Three more wins, and they're 3 points out of the last playoff spot.
Yeah, right. No, right.
You mean
if they had 3 more wins?
If they had 3 more wins, they'd be within 3 points of Montreal.
Yeah.
Sitting here today.
It's kind of maddening.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
All right.
Just a little.
Next game, home to the Lightning Saturday night. Then Boston is here Sunday.
Yeah, they go. I noticed that you mentioned something about the repetitiveness of the schedule recently with the Saturday, Sunday games last couple of weeks. Same thing. They go Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday to close out the season.
So 8 games left.
Yeah.
They're 7th in the league in goals. 5-on-5, average or above. Just, wow, what is it this time? What is it this time? Sal coming up at 5. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
More of Schopp and the Bulldog coming up.
Florida at the top of the hour. Probably remiss when talking hockey just then to not have mentioned how close it's getting here with Ovechkin. 3 goals away to tie, 4 to break the record, and they play tonight at Carolina on TNT, Washington. It's pretty close to must-see TV at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And I learned, I guess this morning, but last night, TSN, they had their Pierre LeBrun and Darren Drager and all the, the insiders. And I guess the NHL is going to start following Ovechkin around now. I think the way that they positioned it, it was Drager that was doing the reporting on this. Batman, maybe Daly, close members of Ovechkin's family, whatever, they're going to be like going to every game now from here on out. And I think Gretzky as well. I didn't exactly get that pinned down the way it was worded what I watched this morning, but the circus is basically on from here to the finish line of the season. And like you mentioned it yesterday, they finish in Pittsburgh. Their final game is in
I
Pittsburgh.
did know that.
Oh, I thought it was you that said that to me yesterday. I guess I learned that yesterday somewhere else. But yeah, they finish up in Pittsburgh.
At Carolina tonight, home to Chicago Friday. That's a bad team. At the Islanders Sunday, home to Carolina next week at Columbus, home and home with Columbus, at the Islanders, at the Penguins. He needs 4. And it's 8 games. He does it, right? He does it.
I think he does it, yeah.
Everybody will, be feeding him, and they're kind of all set for the playoffs.
Right.
So, it'll be a shooting gallery for Ovechkin.
I really wonder, I think he's talked about this already. If not, it's been certainly inferred that he does not want to score the record-breaking goal into an empty net.
Okay, sure.
So being 4 away, like what the TNT tonight, right? He gets a hat trick. You're halfway through the third period. He's got 3 goals already, and they're up 5-3 or something. I wonder what happens. Like, does the coach not put him on the ice? Does he refuse to go on the ice if the net is going to be empty? Like, I don't want it to come that way. I mean, there's only so much you can control. That you can control. I'm not going to play in those situations, so I do not get this monumental goal that way. But, it could bounce in off his shin pad or his rear end or something in front of the net, like the goal he scored against Buffalo on Sunday was not like some clean, epic, oh, look at that, like you'd want a lithograph of it or something. It's just a goal. It's hockey. But I'd be surprised if he gets within 1 of breaking the record if he's on the ice in an empty net situation.
I mean, it's funny, like, Gretzky's 894th goal, who would know it? Who would know what that looked like? Right. This is his last one. He had the record by a lot. But the year he broke the single-season record, I was at the game, 1982, so was Paul announcing it for NBC, which is amazing. That's a great goal. It's late in the third, and it's 3-3, and Gretzky splits the Sabre defense and goes around and sort of pulls Edwards out of the net and scores. And then he scores 2 more. I mean, that's about as cool a record-breaking game as you could have. And Gilbert had 3 for the Sabres, 3-3 when Gretzky scores. I sat in the Reds on the end, and I was 9, I think, or 10. And just remember on this night, like I was lucky to go to plenty of games, like a half dozen a year or so I would get to eventually. On this one particular night, though, anytime anything happened that might have been a play for a Gretzky record-breaking goal, everybody stood up. And I could never see anything that happened. Like I was kind of stuck in that way that night. It didn't usually happen. Most of the time fans are not standing up at anything.
Close chance, right, yeah.
But he scored on the end where I was sitting. And really I couldn't see it. It was more, I remember hearing it. Like, okay, that must have been it. Than like actually visualizing the goal, because just all the grown-ups.
That's all right. Then they just replayed it on the giant jumbotron TV inside the old Odd.
Yes.
So you were fine.
No, they stopped the game for a long time, and it was 4-3 late in the third, and Edwards was pissed. He just started freaking out on let's go, let's get the game going again, right?
Right.
But you had Esposito, who would have done that. Didn't Gretzky go games without scoring before that too? I think maybe they were in Detroit. I'll look that up. But yeah, I guess Gretzky would have to sort of like, all right, I'm in now. Let's go. Where are we going next? Chicago. All right, Islanders.
Right.
Just sort of follow it around. Sal Capaccio after the update next on WGR.
The Buffalo Bills made the 4-year extension for cornerback Christian Benford official today. Some of the numbers from that contract beginning to being reported out in the last few minutes. We'll get more on that as Sal Capaccio joins the show next. And also as we inch closer to the draft, a report earlier today from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN has the Bills meeting with Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond for a pre-draft visit at some point next week. To baseball, rough day for the Bisons. They fall 15-3. Game 3 of their 6-game road series in Memphis will be tomorrow at 7:45. And a lot of extensions being handed out in Major League Baseball. The Red Sox and the Padres got things going this morning. For Boston, second baseman Christian Campbell, 8-year, $60 million deal. And then Padres outfielder Jackson Muriel to a 9-year, $135 million contract. And then just moments ago it was reported the Diamondbacks giving second baseman Ketel Marte a 6-year, $116 million contract. And then some of the games currently going on now. Blue Jays in action against Washington. They lead that game 4-1 in the 6th. And the Mets, they just got going against the Marlins, already up 1-0 in the 2nd. And then in college hoops, the Fab Four for the women's NIT sees UB hosting Cleveland State at 6 o'clock. That's in just about an hour. You can listen to that on our sister station, the Bet 1520. At your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update, Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Sal Capaccio.
I make a special carpaccio for you, right?
Oh, now that sounds really good.
Oh, you like?
Hey, get away from my wife with that.
What's the matter, carpaccio no good?
What do you do now?
They don't like a carpaccio.
They like carpaccio?
On WGR.
I make a carpaccio for you.
Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back to Sal from the owners' meetings in Florida, which have wrapped. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. We will get to Christian Benford and his press conference today. Also, schedule, speculation, Christmas, triple headers, and whatnot. But if you don't mind, both of you, I was thinking about the rules changes again, the ones that, were made. And so not the tush push. And I read a thread from Michael Lopez, Stats by Lopez, who is big into sports data. And I thought I would just sort of kick around each of these, one or three, to talk about, to get your opinion on. And Sal, are you up for that?
Sure, go ahead.
So number one, the overtime change.
I hate this idea, Sal, by the way, just between you and me.
I didn't need it either, but what Michael has from his analysis, Philadelphia's proposal, now both teams will get the ball in overtime like in the playoffs. He thinks this will increase competitive equity, which seems logical. And he has a chart here about how the advantage of winning the coin toss in overtime, when it is touchdown wins the game, was enhanced by the kickoff rule. So getting better field position to start that drive in overtime. So that makes sense. Sal, how do you feel about the overtime change?
Yeah, I think getting so what do you like? How do I feel about overall, or that particular point, or what do you mean?
What do you think of this change?
I like the change that both teams can possess it based on what we've seen over the last several years. I think that it kind of fits, and it's right. I like the fact that the regular season will be in line with the playoffs. I think that's really more. What I like. I don't like the fact they did not extend it. I understand their reasoning, why they didn't extend the time, but I don't like that part of it. It does, to me, yes, very much weigh on if you can get the coin toss and you start first, you kind of can control, what happens for as much as you can, right? I mean, how many 10-minute drives are there? There are some. They're not normal. But, if you really want to go down that road, you can do it that way.
Yeah, I made the point yesterday, and I don't know that it holds up. I think even in us just kicking it around for a few minutes yesterday, Mike poked some holes in it. But my first thought when I heard about this, Sal, was that it could increase ties. When I found out they weren't increasing the to 15 minutes, that 10 minutes. I just can see a scenario where I score, you score, game's over. Thanks for coming, everyone. But what Mike mentioned was with the way the league has changed in the last few years here, that a team going in to tie, say, with a tying touchdown, would probably go for two in a situation like that rather than risk the tie. If the clock was really, or maybe regardless of the clock, you might just go, I'm going to try to beat you right here, right now.
Everybody hates ties.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe that will prevent it. But I just don't think 10 minutes is long enough to have both teams possess the ball and not end up where you started 10 minutes earlier with a tie.
Yeah, I know. I think, look, I get the point of why they're doing it. Like I said, we talked about the tie issue yesterday. I don't know. I just don't know if it's going to matter that much to ties. I think that's just something that it could wind up happening, and then we could look and say, well, is it because they changed this rule? Not really sure. It's kind of rare anyway. Not a lot of games go to overtime anyway. I just do think, though, that winning the coin toss is valuable now in the overtime based on how this is happening. It already was valuable, but this might make it more valuable.
We have had the previous overtime rule for a number of years anyway, and it's not like there were that many ties. I mean, you could have had teams trade field goals or something, so it didn't seem like it was a problem before. Well,
no, if a team can score a touchdown and win the game. What I'm saying is, it's more likely now because I'm going to score a touchdown, but I don't win the game, and now you get to answer me. That's all.
Right. The change of a touchback being moved to the 35-yard line from the 30, which was moved to the 30 last year. Michael Lopez, we're anticipating, I think he works for the league now, by the way. We're anticipating more kickoffs landing in the landing zone and more exciting plays. That seems intuitive. The dynamic kickoff added more than 300 kickoff returns last year. Do you like this one?
I do for that purpose. I do think that 35 is pretty penal, and it really gets you pretty close right away. So this is what I'm thinking, guys. And this is from talking to people and kind of how they were looking at it, around the league yesterday and when this was going on. This really could be determined on, that if a team has a really good quarterback, you're going to say, we got to make them return the ball. We're not giving the ball at the 35-yard line. Like, okay, so use Josh Allen here. If the Bills, if a team is facing Josh Allen and the Bills, they're going to want to make the Bills return the ball. They don't want to give them the ball at the 35. If they're facing a team that has a pretty mid-level or below quarterback, you're not as afraid of that. So maybe you kick it out of the end zone. I think you're going to have a lot of strategy that kind of hinges on who your opponent is when it comes to this.
Yeah, I got to give them, the competition committee, the league, whatever. The kickoff, it worked. Sal, the three of us together all summer, like, it's going to be a non-event. I feel like I know Sean McDermott's just going to kick it out of the end zone and say 30-yard line. I can live with that. I don't want to take the randomness chance on you busting something on me. And I couldn't have been more wrong. It did have the desired effect, and I think this will only enhance that. So good on them. It's not a play you want to just walk away from anymore. And it had become that. So right. I think they found a sweet spot here where it's safer because of the alignment, but now they're also going to get the ball in play more, which is good. I was never, against the idea of the ball being in play. I just was worried about the effectiveness of this resulting in that. But it has, and I think this will be even better.
Yeah, they got more returns last year, but I think you saw, especially towards the end of the year into the playoffs, you saw more touchbacks too start happening where teams like, okay, we're just going to blast it through here. You have better offenses in certain situations. What I think could be really interesting, guys, and I don't know how many teams are going to really play around with this to see how well they can do this. So they did not change where the ball starts. If it lands in the landing zone and then goes through the end zone, that is penal to the kick return team because then you start at the 20. So if the ball lands in the landing zone between the 20 and goal line and it just skips and rolls through the end zone in the back, it starts at the 20-yard line. I wonder if teams are going to really work on training kickers to be able to do that somehow.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like a line drive that says if you smoke it and it hits at the 10 and bounces through, they're starting at the 20.
You know what you could do here? You could aim for the pylons. Line drives at the pylons because out of bounds is only the 40.
40. That's right. There's only a
5 yards.
Yard difference. That's right.
I mean,
that's a great point, Mike. Like you're saying, the risk versus reward is 15 yards of reward versus 5 yards of risk.
Yeah. I mean, whoever you want to use for this, you've got some star returner. Do I want to mess with that guy, or do I want to I'll just aim for the pylon?
Right.
And that would mean maybe then return teams open up the space between their two guys. If they have two guys deep, you sort of play more to the sideline. You can see different alignments from that. I look forward to this. I feel like the 35 will feel a lot different. I mean, the 30 just did not feel that different. And I think the league acted accordingly.
When you're starting at the 35, you can pretty much see the midfield logo.
You can see the giant helmet.
And that has an effect on, I think, as a fan,
here they come.
Right? If you're on defense or on offense, like, okay, all right, look, boy, I can already see the logo. We're doing great.
We're driving here.
Right?
One good pass play and you're in field goal range.
You're just getting on the field to start a drive. That's pretty good.
Okay, that'll be a fun one. And then the third one here from Michael Lopez is the Detroit proposal on that if a team wins its division but has a losing record, it would go on the road in the playoffs instead of hosting. And he points out something interesting that 7 teams...
That did not pass, right?
It did not pass.
Well, okay, thank you.
Right?
It doesn't have to be go on the road, but it would be seeded according to record, right? I think that you don't automatically go on the road. There could be records that, but you're right. I mean, it would probably be the case, I guess. But if they would have, it would be seeded based upon. So here's the proposal that happened. That proposal was not under 500. The proposal was Detroit's proposal was if a team wins the division, it still makes the playoffs, but we just basically seed everybody according to record. Doesn't matter if you won the division or wild card.
Okay.
Once they got in the room, there was talk, not a proposal, talk about, and even Brandon Bean brought this up to us.
That's why
I
I'm
wonder if
thinking
he
of it.
mentioned
the under 500.
Yes.
That's right. Brandon Bean said, I might be in favor of something like, if they win the division but they're under 500, we could do that.
Right. Okay, so thank you. That's what it was. And on this chart, he points out that 7 teams last year would have had more to play for in Week 18 had that been the system than they did, and that 5 of those teams either rested their starting quarterbacks either for the entire game or during that game. The Rams, I think, might be the best example of this. I mean, the Rams did run the risk of moving in the seeding, and they did lose, but they rested their guys, had the home game the following week anyway. They knew they would be at home. But Minnesota, who they played, had a better record, and under this, they would have had to go on the road. So I bet they would have handled that differently if they, were staring at a road game.
They probably would have played their guys, right?
They probably would have played their guys. So that's worth something. I hadn't thought about that for that proposal.
I think from the league perspective, there's an argument. That argument is a good one for if you want exciting games, Week 18, you want to keep things in play. Well, this makes it for an exciting game. The team might have a division wrapped up, but maybe they can't host yet. They got to still, we're fighting for seeding. More teams are fighting for seeding, right? Because even if you won your division. But I will tell you guys, there is such a sentiment among football people, GMs and head coaches, that winning your division is so important and it's so tough that you need to be rewarded for that by getting a home game. Like, that's pretty much where they land.
Green Bay was another. Remember how good that division was? And they rested in Week 18. I think they played Chicago. They definitely did because Minnesota played Detroit. And they could have ended up with a home game under this system anyway. So, again, it didn't pass. Just something interesting to talk about. All right. So we've covered that stuff. Christian Benford, news conference today. I don't know how much time we've spent on Benford here the last few days. We didn't really have it last week, and then we've talked about Cook a lot. Sal, for you, the significance of the contract, the size of it, all of it, how do you feel?
I feel great about it after seeing the deals. The numbers actually come out today, just right before I went on with you guys. A lot of the numbers came out. Already felt good about it before that, but now Pro Football Talk was first to report it, and now Spot Track has it as well, if you want to take a look at it. His cap hit, first of all, we know that this is going to happen anyway, is only $2.6 million this year because he has a $1.1 million base salary, has a signing bonus that gets spread out. But when I first saw the deal, 4 years, $76 million, you're like, okay, you can live with that. That's top 15 money, 13th, I think it was ranked, an annual average for those 4 years. I think you can live with that for Christian Benford. He's definitely a good enough player to fit that. Well, guess what? It's not even that. Those are incentives and escalators that can get you to that money. What it truly is, a 4-year, $69 million base deal. That's a little over $17 million. Guys, that's 19th in the league, annual average. And it doesn't even kick in until next year. By the time the contract kicks in, I bet he's about the 25th highest paid corner going into the deal, which is remarkable to me for a guy that I think is really good And now, is he a true number one shadow corner, follow a guy all around the field? No, that is not Christian Benford. But I think he is a very, very solid player who is the right fit for this particular defense, and he's going to be a good player for many years.
Right. Like I'm waiting and wondering here, seeing these details trickle in through the day today, whether we've all overestimated how good Benford is. because when a guy is a free agent and you're going to get the newest contract, I didn't exactly expect him to go to the top of the market. There was, a $30 million corner deal out there this offseason, so I wasn't expecting him to get that. But I certainly was not expecting him to be in the 20s, like you're suggesting it will end up by the time the dust all settles here and we get into the season. So, I mean, whether we overrated him or not, to me, it looks like an excellent deal for the Bills.
No doubt about it. But look, I think that what we've seen here is, the good old culture point, and you want to be around here and all that. Christian Benford did say today when he spoke with the media, he said the talk started right after the season. I'm guessing when they had their exit interviews. He talked with Bean. He said some of the other guys. And then he said he wanted to continue on the relationship and a bond that he has right here. He loves the coaches. He loves the staff. He loves everybody, the players, obviously. So it was something that he wanted to get done. Well, obviously, it got done. Look, Matt Bove said this, and this is not a novel concept or point, but it's a really right point. He said this on our podcast the other day. If you really want to measure the true value of Josh Allen, I think the true value of Josh Allen, aside from obviously being the most valuable player, that's his true value, but the real benefit of Josh Allen is you got all these guys re-signing for maybe what they're actually worth in the open market because they see that they can win here because they have this type of quarterback. So, yeah, we could talk about culture and locker room and all that matters, no doubt. I believe in that. But truly, they have the best quarterback in the league, arguably, or the second best quarterback in the league. They're fighting for a Lombardi, and that keeps people here. They want to do that. They see a lot of times what it might be like or hear what it's like not to have that. They like that position that they're in, going to the playoffs and having that every year. So, look, I just think that that's a big part of this. If you're not in that position, I don't know if you get Christian Benford as the 19th ranked corner and highest annual average right now.
Yeah, good point. Sal Capaccio on the West Her hotline. Schedule stuff, Christmas. The Chiefs want to buy Christmas. What exactly is this? They want a squad on Christmas. Is this the Hallmark movie that Bulldog didn't know about involving the Chiefs, where they try to actually buy the holiday?
Yeah. So last year the Chiefs were the subject of the Hallmark movie. Bulldog, you didn't know?
I didn't watch it. I missed the entire thing.
I so respect that,
and I'm stunned that I didn't know.
I love that you didn't know.
I don't think it's surprising.
I wish I could say I didn't.
It would have been more shocking if I had watched it and loved it or something and wrote a review at WGR550.com. I recognize, but I just didn't even hear of it, I guess. I missed the whole thing, which I don't know.
It was called Holiday Touchdown, A Chiefs Love Story. That's what it was called, okay? And by the way, when it came out, you were on vacation, and I'm telling you, Jeremy had a couple really funny tweets because he always usually does. He's so creative about stuff like this, and he had some good names for the Bills. A touchdown, the way it was something that could be called, and with a holiday theme, and then other people started going in. So it's really funny. Like if you look back at that and some of the names that people had. Right, of different names for the story. Anyway,
Christmas heartache.
So basically, I'm just tying together. If the Chiefs do want to play on Christmas and tell the league we want to do this every year, now if they want to play at home every year, that takes the Bills out of that game this year because the Bills are hosting the Chiefs. But what if they say, look, we want to play on Christmas every year. We just want to be on somewhere. Well, they are at the Bills this year, and the Bills are on the Hallmark movie, which fits with Christmas. Right. That's the Hallmark movie, right? So why wouldn't you think that? And they're going to have 3 games. That's the big news. 3 games on Christmas, 2 on Netflix, 1 on Amazon Prime. I just think, guys, the Bills are really kind of due here to play a Christmas or a Black Friday game, maybe both, who knows, because of who they are, the quarterback that they have, and now you add in all that other stuff we talked about.
Right, and they've already been in every Thanksgiving window since 2019, for whatever that matters. That's why that's why the Black Friday maybe makes sense and Christmas.
I just can't believe with all your online searches that Holiday Touchdown, A Chiefs Love Story wouldn't have just popped up a number of times with those keywords. How did you not even know about it? Sal, I think
it's possible I saw it and just thought it was some anti-Taylor Swift nonsense like the people were making up. And I just kept scrolling. Never really stopped to consider it as
again,
real entertainment product.
Lots of things like that. They go in one ear, out the other, don't care enough to remember it, and that's fine. I respect it. Sal, the Bills maybe get a Christmas game. The Chiefs seem to want a perennial Christmas game. I doubt they'd play each other on Christmas. I think it's too good and it's too late. You do, as impossible as this might seem, you put that game on week 16, you run the risk of it not really mattering that much. You know, if one team's down a little bit, you kind of waste arguably the best matchup in the NFL every year. So I would bet against they play each other on that day.
I get that. I understand that. I will tell you, though, that the league has put, as you guys know and you're alluding to, they put marquee teams on that day, right? I mean, last year you had the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Texans, right? Was that the round robin, the 4? Yep. And then they played the following week. Now, maybe they do something like that again, where last year was on a Wednesday, so it was a little different, obviously, because they had, or was it a Saturday turnaround? I think it was, maybe?
I think it was Saturday, Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay, so, Wednesday, that's right. But Christmas was on a Wednesday. I guess this would be... this would be a Thursday to a Sunday, not a Saturday to a Wednesday. You know what I mean? Because you're talking about the end of the week Wednesday instead of the beginning of week Thursday for NFL purposes here. But I do wonder if you do that round robin again.
It's basically Thanksgiving. So you wouldn't need to put them on the certain teams on a certain other day, like the same way. They would just play on Sunday, like usual, and then play on Christmas, which is a Thursday. You just leave it at that. But, I would not be surprised to see both teams, like I said, on Christmas Day. Do you agree that maybe them playing each other that late would be weird?
I do. I mean, last year was fairly late, but not that late, right? It was late November.
Yeah.
Didn't they have a game early December maybe one of these years? I'm not really sure. Maybe not quite, but I think they did. But then it was early in the season a while ago. Now, I think they've been on CBS the last couple of years.
That's right.
So that might be more reason why to put them on a Christmas or a Black Friday or something, a game against the Chiefs that isn't CBS because, as Mike North has told me in the past, they try to spread the love with this stuff a little bit,
Right,
because
and CBS has been kind of squatting on it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'll stick up for it being a realistic idea. That being the Bills hosting Chiefs on Christmas Day. I recognize all the points being made, and they're all sound. But I still think it could work because you're always betting on whether the teams are going to be good or not. If how bankable Bills and Chiefs being at that point in the season, 10-win teams or so already, is pretty realistic, in my opinion. I would expect it to be that in the league's view as well. Then I'm setting up for a showdown on Christmas Day for the 1 seed in the AFC, and that sounds pretty great to me. Like, I know there's risk, there almost always is, but I wouldn't rule it out. I kind of like the idea.
Yeah, and I heard you guys debate and talk about which would be better. Look, I mean, you could look at it so many ways from so many people. For me professionally, if you told me they're going to be on the road, I'd much rather prefer Thanksgiving because I'd rather not be away on Christmas Eve. I have an 11-year-old son. That would suck. And Christmas morning and waking up like that. If it's going to be a Christmas game, I'd rather be at home because then, but I bet you fans, if you ask fans, that it would be maybe do it away because then you don't have to go to the stadium and you can watch it on TV, right? So I think it's so many ways you can look at it. Here it is, Bulldog. This is what Jeremy wrote after the announcement. He said, the plot centers around 2 Bills fans that happened to attend the Christian Wade preseason game and built a relationship on belief in him and each other. Titled, Jingle All the Wade.
And there's a Christian.
And that's right. And if you go to that tweet, you see a lot of other people making up their own, which is really funny.
I think at some point in a very likely rum-fueled haze, I did come across that while I was on vacation and just was like, I don't even know what is happening right now. It's a Hallmark. I didn't know about this Chiefs thing from last year, so the whole concept of me is just like, what is even happening right now?
Too close to April Fools to take too seriously. All right. Thanks, Al.
You got it, guys.
There you go. Sal Capaccio's reports here on WGR, always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
What's Kansas City Buffalo without Nance and Romo? Yeah, it's got it. Come on. We got to keep that tradition. A tradition unlike any other. We got to keep that going. Those two have had for one thing, the Bills' last 8 playoff games. And those Kansas City regular season games, it's the last 3 we think were also Nance and Romo, and that's what? 3 of the playoff games. They had the only break in there from Nance and Romo in the 2020 AFC Championship is the New England game, the night game with Ian Eagle. That's the only break in the run. There's one of my favorite ways to put the Bills' success in perspective. Is that after all those drought years and trivia, who's announcing Bills play? Brent Musburger.
Now we just cannot get rid of Nance and Romo.
We can't shake them. It's just every one is
right.
2 a year. It's these 2 guys. 803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after the update on WGR.
We know you.
tackle with their first-round pick, Walter Nolan.
The deal was originally reported as $76 million, but today it became official $69 million. We also had some draft news today. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported earlier this morning the Bills will have Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond in on a pre-draft visit at some point next week. Over to baseball, rough day for the Bisons. They do fall 5-3. Game 3 of their 6-game road series in Memphis starts tomorrow at 7:45, and a lot of extensions today in baseball. Red Sox locking down rookie second baseman Christian Campbell, 8 years, $60 million deal. Padres ink outfielder Jackson Merrill to a 9-year, $135 million deal. And the Diamondbacks, they also got in on the fun, giving second baseman Ketel Marte 6-year, $116 million contract. Some of the games currently going on. Blue Jays, they lead Washington 4-1. Late in that game, it's in the 9th. And then the Mets, they trail the Marlins 2-1 in the 3rd. And then coming up in just about a half hour in college hoops, the Fab Four for the women's NIT, UB hosting Cleveland State. That game at 6. You can listen to that over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
By rewarding the guys that have been with you, and it takes both sides to come together on those, and that's not always easy. So appreciate the guys and obviously their agents and working with us, and when you can do that, I think you really obviously develop some important continuity, and that usually bodes for developing good teams.
Sean McDermott, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. If the draft is on your mind, anything Bills related, 803-0550 or Sabres. We had a good conversation about them in the middle of the show today.
I have a question that has nothing to do with either of those subjects.
All right.
That's okay. Have you ever noticed and or thought about when it is in a Major League Baseball season they transition from last year's batting statistics when a guy is up to the plate to what is happening so far this year?
I would say about a week. Okay. Like now.
All right.
Tomorrow. I would say about a week.
All right. Because I can't tell you what Pete Alonso's done so far in 2025, but I can tell you he had 34 home runs last year.
Okay, so I just looked up and saw that they showed he was 4 for 18.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's just bad timing on my part. Maybe they did. Yeah, maybe they did do both. I looked up and I saw him up there, and there was last year. There it is. And I did not see any 4 for 14 or whatever you just said.
4 for 18.
4 for 18.
I think.
All right.
When would you do it? See, there's Nimmo. That's this year.
Yeah, okay. I think that's about right. I guess I've never really thought about it. I've noticed it, and I've certainly noticed it, the other way, when we get into the, a little further into the season, that it's not last year's stuff, but I've never thought about if there's a formula. Like do all the people that handle the graphics for broadcasts and the directors and all that stuff, is there an agreed upon line of demarcation? Like, okay, we've played 7 games. That's it.
Yep.
Get out of here with last year.
Is there an industry standard?
But it's cool. I didn't notice that they were sprinkling in both. Maybe that's the right way to go. I'm not watching very closely because I'm at work.
Yeah, right. This seems like as good a time as any to bring up a very popular subject on this show. Did Mike watch a baseball game last night? Yes. Again, I watched Cleveland-San Diego. Second night in a row. I don't know. That's not a great trend for me. That means I'm up too late.
Yeah, I guess so.
They're playing now. I could be watching. Well, I'm also at work.
Yeah.
One thing I would say about watching baseball right now is, and I thought about this when I watched the games from Tokyo, the technology is crazy with pitch speed and launch angles and, the direction of the pitch, all the stats that come with, I'm not even sure I can describe, like just that graphic where you see, the starting pitcher, here comes a graphic where it's all 4 of his pitches, red, blue, yellow, green.
Right. The overlays.
The overlays.
Yeah.
And just, it's a lot. I think I would want to, if I really needed to know, I would want to pause it and I need time to think about that. See, what is this really showing me?
Yeah.
It's amazing how they can do it. I always marveled at, I did play-by-play for 1 year in AAA. And I don't remember ever being confident on the radio saying what the pitch was.
Oh, there's a slider on the corner, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a slider. Now we got a sweeper. It's a splitter. It's a sinker. Skeens throws his sinker 99 or something. How
are you supposed to differentiate that from his fastball, right?
Exactly.
From, whatever, the press box.
Who knows? Right. Is it like how in golf, how the announcer knows what the club is because the caddy signals to the course reporter, the hand signaling what the club is?
Yeah.
Because I guess I probably once thought, are you looking at that and saying that's an 8-iron? Are you sure that you can just tell?
Right.
So there's got to be some. Well, I don't know if there is. Actually, I've never thought of an answer to this question. Is somebody
tipping off Dottie?
Is there a way? No. In golf, I know that's how they do it.
Okay.
But in baseball, the person running StatCast or the person running the MLB app, how are they so sure what kind of pitch it is? I guess I still don't know that answer.
Yeah.
How do they know? Because they are pitch by pitch, sinker, fast 4-seam.
That's right. That
2-seam.
Gamecast does tell you that. That's right.
How do we know the 4-seam from the 2-seam? From out here.
Yeah, I have no idea. I feel like I could sit behind home plate. Where does that person in
the press box?
Right.
I think
that seems very hard.
There must be now. Isn't there an electronic communication between the pitcher and the catcher for what the pitch is going to be? Maybe somebody else is privy to that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's right. I don't know about somebody else being privy to it, but I know there's
Yeah, they're not signaling with the fingers anymore.
Right.
You can see the catcher wearing that sort of earpiece thingy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how that works.
All right. Unanswered sports questions.
Yeah. Fastball, fine. Again, sitting behind home plate, right? Like the old guy at Dodger Stadium with the radar gun. If I'm sitting in that seat,
yes.
Okay, fastball, that's pretty easy. Slider, curve, yeah, I think I got the hang of this. Everything, I don't know. Everything else, was that a sinker or was it just low? I didn't see the action. I don't know what the hell I'm doing over here. But yeah, I've never thought about that, so I can't say I've ever marveled at it.
I love the reference you just. Mike Brito, the Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Mike Brito.
Yeah.
Was that guy's name?
Yeah, the guy. Yeah, the radar gun.
Is he still a guy? Is he still a thing?
I don't know. Did he have a fedora and he had a look?
Oh, he had a look.
Yeah.
You had to know who he was.
Yes. Right.
Does that guy need to be here? Is he doing something? Yes.
Right.
He's,
But I don't know how you do that from the press box. I have no idea. I would be terrible at that job.
Same. Okay, here's Michael next. Hello.
Hey, guys. So, quickly wanted to get your thoughts. Isaiah Bond visited earlier, and I know a visit means next to nothing. They visit with a lot of guys. But for somebody like myself who was slightly off-put by essentially choosing Keon over Worthy with that trade, I don't know how you guys felt about that last year. But long story short,
I hated it. By the way, hated it.
Okay, perfect. So you might kind of share the same sentiment. Would it bother you even a little bit if they went and drafted Isaiah Bond, who probably is fitting a similar role that you would have had pictured for Worthy in the late second, third, instead of just taking Worthy last year and then maybe going with the Jaden Higgins to fill the Keon role this year? It just would bother me if that's how it all went down.
I get that. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Me either. I get the premise. I don't think I'd want to hold last year against them. You got every guy's a different evaluation. Every year is a different crop of players. You just got to do your job. And I don't know if they're what their reasons were for the choices they made. I assume they just did not have that high a grade on Worthy and weren't comfortable taking him that soon and let somebody else do it. And we'll see, when the smoke clears. Year one did not go well for that. But I would not be mad retroactively or whatever. I wouldn't be mad now because they didn't draft a Texas speed receiver and then this year did. I mean, I don't know. I'll be mad if the guy isn't any good and Worthy goes on to have some fantastic career. Then that'll be frustrating. But I would not myself circle back to, oh, great, now you're going to draft the speedy Texas
Better
guy.
late than never.
Just give me the speedy Texas guy. If it fits, just do it.
It is interesting, I think. There's probably something, at least one thing I'm missing with this, but it is interesting to think that Worthy was kind of the right fit for a right complement to the players they had. Mm-hmm. I think. I mean, you could say that. You did. People did say that's what made Worthy maybe your favorite idea for them versus Coleman, who's, Matt Harmon will be on tomorrow, and it's just always Matt Harmon for me, and he wasn't alone. Scott Barrett was this, I believe, too. Like, he needs to play in the slot. And a year into his career, when he didn't play in the slot, would you maybe still say the same thing? Like, playing outside really didn't pop for Coleman. So he could be miscast on this team. And that just sort of adds to the confusion, if you will, about the whole thing. And, speaking of unanswered questions, the draft is the one subject where I wish I had a button where I could find out what Brandon Beane, in this case, really thinks. Did he not like Worthy, or did they not like Worthy? Did they love Coleman? Did they know that Coleman would be available? Did they know that Kansas City was taking, what? You had so many different receivers there, really on the scouts and the GM to get that right. McConkey is there. Worthy was there. Trading up for Thomas might have been possible. Leggett and Pearsall obviously went between Worthy and Coleman. And that's not even the whole list. So, the book is not closed on Coleman, but wasn't much of a rookie campaign. And I don't know, like Bond, the receiver I want is Iomanner from Stanford, who goes right around, in most projections, right around where Bond goes, like early third or late second. He's intriguing to me, and I end up on him partly because they're not getting McMillan or they're not getting one of these guys. Yep. Ibuka is interesting,
and he's Canadian, isn't he?
Yes,
the Stanford receiver.
He is Canadian. Yeah. That's not why.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding around.
But he's young and hands. So yeah, because it's kind of realistic to me. It's relative. The idea the Bills are going to draft a receiver in the second round or even the third if they were to get a pick there, I don't know. The odds are probably against it. Would you agree? Day 2 receiver.
That might be a coin flip for me. I know we opened up today talking about, defense and corner, tackle, edge, those are I think the biggest needs on the team. But I wouldn't rule out a second round. They got 2 second-round picks.
Yep.
So I don't know. I wouldn't want to rule it out. But right now, I would lean. If I had to lean one way or the other, I would lean those first 3 picks are all defense.
Over 2.5 defensive players.
Yeah. I would probably bet that. I would, if I were setting the line, I would bet that would be the, you'd need to bet, 20 to earn 10 or something. That's the favorite to me. But I wouldn't rule out receiver.
That's interesting.
I think they still, I'll say it again. They lost Hollins. They felt the need to go get Cooper. Neither of them are here anymore. So, okay, Palmer's here. Great. That's 2 out, 1 in. So, the math doesn't work.
Okay.
As far as guys that they're looking to count on. And I don't know who else really there is unless it's, we hope Samuel will be healthy all summer and be ready to start the season because he finished up pretty well. I mean, he looked more like a player that you could count on moving forward. But, you would have thought that when they signed him last March. And he really was a shell Like I frequently forgot he was on the team. Like it took him being on the injury report for me to go, oh yeah, Curtis Samuel.
Well, that happens to me every day now. Like I just been joking about that, and this is today's moment where I remember. You remind me about Samuel. Samuel, by the way, quickly, like I'm drafting all the time, and he often goes undrafted. 20 rounds.
Yeah.
The guys who get drafted, I mean, obscure rookies who will be very lucky to get drafted early enough to probably matter this year. I mean, I don't mean dynasty either, like this year. But Samuel is like one of these guys that's just like forgotten about, I think, in that context too. It's tough for the guy out there. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Thank you for the call, Michael. This is WGR. there. Did you get a look at the annual NFL coaches photo from Sunday?
Barely.
Okay.
I did not get a chance to study it. I did think it was noteworthy. Did they not have like a giant backdrop with the hotel?
It was raining.
Okay. All right.
I think it was raining, so they took the picture inside.
Okay.
One coach not pictured, Raheem Morris of Atlanta. I hope my wife doesn't mind my saying this. I showed her the picture and asked her how many she could name. And she named 3.
Andy Reid.
Sean
McDermott.
She said, "Is that Sean McDermott?" And I said, "Yes." So that's correct. And this is a tough one. I'll say that. This is not who I would have expected her to be able to pick out. She stared at Pete Carroll. And she's like, I know who that is. I know I've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
But she could not name him.
Yeah.
And I think she recognized McVay, but could not name him.
Okay. Well, you can strike those from the list of possibilities here.
Carroll, I thought she would know, but didn't.
Yeah. I'm going to guess John Harbaugh.
No, she had nothing on the Harbaughs.
Okay.
Had no idea who they were. Mike McDaniel.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
We've seen him enough time on TV watching the Bills.
There's a look there.
There's definitely a look.
He sort of stands out in the class of NFL coaches, I would say.
How many years is he? Is he 3 years there? I mean, there's a playoff game, too. That's 7 Bills games.
Only three
at least
seasons?
3.
Yeah, it's at least 3. Yeah.
Maybe more, maybe 4.
Yeah, that's good. My process on Harbaugh was you and we both have really admired Lamar Jackson so far, even before he got drafted. So Lamar, I'm just thinking like maybe there's a chance you've talked enough about Lamar Jackson that she's been in the room watching games with you and like knows what his coach looks like. That was my process on picking John Harbaugh as someone your wife would recognize.
I don't think she likes to be in the room with me when the Ravens are on. I think there's a little bit of that. And I'm rarely home when the Bills are on.
I respect that.
And I want them to play on Christmas for, well, I do and I don't. One reason why I do is that anytime they play an island game, as they say, I get to watch the Sunday slate as opposed to working and just sort of only on the Bills when 8 other games are happening. I'd prefer to have the Bills play on Saturday every week. And then I get the Sunday, slate. So bring me all the Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, any of it. I'm here for it. Christmas. Interesting stuff on this from the NFL. 3 games scheduled for Christmas. Who will be the teams? If you have an opinion on it, 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Bills made cornerback Christian Benford's 4-year deal official today. He also spoke with the media. If you missed any of that, you can find it on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. We also got some draft news today as well. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reporting the Bills will have Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond in a pre-draft visit at some point next week. The Bisons were in action today. It was a rough one. 15-3 loss to Memphis. Game 3 of their 6-game road series with Memphis will be tomorrow at 7:45. And a lot of extensions handed out in Major League Baseball today. The Red Sox locking down rookie second baseman Christian Campbell, 8-year, $60 million deal. Padres ink outfielder Jackson Merrill, 9-year, $135 million deal. And the Diamondbacks give second baseman Ketel Marte, 6-year, $116 million contract. We also have some games going on today. The Mets currently battling the Marlins 2-1 in the fifth. They trail that game, while the Blue Jays, they finished up the sweep of the Nationals with a 4-2 win today. That is their 4th straight victory. And then in college hoops, coming up any moment now, the Fab Four of the women's NIT will begin. UB hosting Cleveland State. That game can be heard over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
To be, and
I feel like 7.
It's Mike Schopp.
How many times do you have to be stung to have been swarmed? And I was like, dude, I got swarmed. I got stung only once, but I was swarmed.
And the Bulldog.
You insist you were swarmed.
There were bees, man, like plural, big, lots of S's, lots of E's and S's. Bees. that was not
bees.
Fun. Right. That was not fun.
On WGR.
Hey, man, that kind of hurt.
Sports Radio 550.
From Warren Sharp today. Where do the Bills rate on 4th and 1 conversion rate? I think it's over 3 years. I'm going to double check that. Last 3 years.
I saw this, and they're surprisingly near the middle. No. They're in the upper third, but they're not like right. They're not as high as I thought they would be. Is all I'm really struggling to say here for no reason.
That's the point of my bringing it up. Same 77%, which ties for 6th in the league. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
but 77% on 4th and 1 over 3 years. Just doesn't it feel like you'd want to do better than that?
Yeah, it feels, and even having watched every minute of every one of these games, I feel like it's like a closer to 85 to 90% conversion rate.
Well, you're confusing the Bills for the Kansas City Chiefs, who have
I see.
89% conversion rate on 4th and 1, and they're not a tush-push team.
Well, good for them. They cheated everything else, though, so it's fine.
The number 1 team is the Rams, and I would never have guessed that. I think of McVay as like they would punt on 4th and 1.
Right.
So
he's annoying in that way that he gets all this credit for being this sort of forward thinker, but I see him do stuff that I think is really conservative all the time.
Apparently over 3 years they've gone for it on 4th and 1 enough times to have a number like 92%. I don't know. That's 10 out of 11.
Yeah, that's no tush push or even Stafford quarterback sneaking at all. Like I don't think. I mean, no. I don't know if he's one of these guys that just doesn't do that, but I can't see him doing it a lot.
I wonder if it literally is 10 out of 11. Be like 91% rounded up, 92%. Yeah. Is that enough times to have gone on 4th and 1 over 3 years? For the Rams, maybe it is. It's not like the Rams are bad. I don't know. I kind of want to know now how many attempts that is. How many attempts the Bills how many a year? How many times? 10 times a year?
Right.
Do they go on 4th and 1? That too.
I know at some point, either last year, partway through the year, or looking back at 2023, I remember seeing a chart where the Bills were very high in they get a lot of credit for going for it, but it's not that many attempts. Like and that's partly a function of getting first downs before 4th down, which a lot of good teams do. But just remember being a little surprised by how small the number of attempts overall was. Their success rate is good, but they're not like leading the league in attempts on 4th downs.
No, this year it was 22. Fourth in anything. They went 22 times. Made 16. Probably have a couple desperation 4th and longs in there.
Right.
Doesn't count the playoffs. The last offensive play of the playoffs was a 4th down play to Kincaid, the busted play. All right, too soon? It's April.
Nah, I'm
it's
okay.
April.
I'm okay.
Here's RJ next. Hello.
Hey, guys. Quick question. So, why are we so cap-strapped when we really have one true star on our team, being Josh, and other teams say, let's go to KC? And I hate using it every time because it gets cliche, but you got Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you got their defensive end, their star defensive end.
Chris Jones, yeah.
And Chris Jones. Where's our other star that's causing us to have so much of a cap hit? Or are we paying a bunch of really good guys a lot of money that we shouldn't be paying them?
I think it's a pretty good point. Knox is the 3rd biggest cap hit on the Bills. I mean, Diggs was part of this, RJ, right? Like
Von Miller was a part of this. That's a part of it.
They ate $31 million to get Diggs off the team. So that contributed to that. And the Chiefs had no such situation. And it didn't even backfire, really, I would say.
And so we look at that and we say, like Knox, what has Knox done for us? He can block. Do we pay a $14 million blocker? And we keep getting these old guys on defense that we think are going to star at the end of their career. They're in the twilight of their career. They're not starring for us. They're good, but they're not starring for us.
Well, we'll see on Bosa. That hasn't happened yet. I mean, we'll see.
Right. But I'm okay with the assertion, like, if you want to compare Miller and Bosa as being similar in that way, I'll buy that. I mean, Bosa's had even more injury trouble than Miller. Miller had big injuries that caused him to miss time, and then a big one here. Bosa's had more like, a week here, 3 weeks there. He's also had one longer time missing, being out, but it's been more like nagging stuff, it feels like to me. But still, it works. I don't know. I need to get to the Chiefs page. I've never done this. Like, looked at their table and the Bills table sort of side by side to try to sort of differentiate. But I mean, it stands to reason that what you've got, I don't know if it's that you're paying too much for good guys, but the Bills might have a larger middle class on their roster, right? Whereas the Chiefs have got that high end, right? Hang on, I've got their table open here. It's Mahomes, Juwan Taylor, Chris Jones, Trey Smith, Travis Kelce. Kelsey's at 19.8. So it's those players, 5 guys, all around 20 million or more, right? On the Bills' end, it's Allen at 41. That's the only cap hit above 20 currently, according to what I'm looking at Spot Draft.
He and Dawkins are the only 2 above 15.
Right. And then, you get to like the middle, like, there's a little more maybe of the 12 and 10s and that kind of thing, whereas there's more of a drop-off, I think. You get past Kelsey with KC, there's a couple of guys in the 10-11 range, and then it's down to like 8, whereas the Bills are a little more spread out, I guess I'd say.
What do the Chiefs rank in dead cap? The Bills are 15th?
They are 23rd.
All right. 13th. And this is going to next year. Last year, the Bills had a pretty big number there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty comparable. 29.4 is the Bills' number. Oh, they're not. No, I'm sorry. That's not that comparable. Yeah, KC's number is 13. Dead money.
More than double.
And they're sitting on $11 million in cap space right now. Top 51 cap space anyway. The Chiefs are, and the Bills are at 3.6.
It's an interesting point, RJ. Knox is kind of an easy one. He's a good player, but as soon as they did that, I was worried they were going to do it. I remember saying that, and then they did it. I'm like, all right, well, this had to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, Knox stands out. I would have liked to see them move off of Daquan Jones at $9.4 million that's the cap number there. Maybe they're banking on another full year since the pec injury or something, and he's going to be back. But I don't know, man. He's just not been the same guy since he got hurt in that Jacksonville game. Like, he was a havoc-wreaking machine the first 5 weeks or so of that season, and then it just has never really come back. So I was hoping that they might look to upgrade there. No, maybe they still will. If they find the right guy in the draft, maybe they'll find their way to a post-June 1st thing with Daquan Jones. But, like, I don't know. Like, looking at it, like you've already said, Knox really jumps off the page when you look at their cap page.
Curtis Samuel at 9.
Yeah.
31 catches. Started 2 games.
Right. The rest of it, like, Connor McGovern, Spencer Brown, Taron Johnson, like, I don't look at it and think like, oh, I'm overpaying for all these guys or anything. Like, those all seem like,
I agree,
reasonable,
Oliver,
if not
too. Even
modest NFL contracts.
Oliver too.
Sure.
Little high, but okay.
Yep. So I don't know what to do with it.
Well, there's, the specific question, it seemed like the Bills are strapped. It's the cap space is tight. And that's only been true for last year to this year, right? 2 years ago, was that the theme? Was like maybe a little bit. It's been long enough. It's actually been long enough where this has kind of been the thing with them. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good point. What's McDuffie? That's the Elam draft, so he might is he on his rookie deal still?
I don't see him up near the top here, which he almost certainly would be if he had a new deal. His cap number is $4.4 million.
Okay, so
he's on. Yeah, he's still right.
Well, they traded Tyreek Hill. And the Bills traded Diggs. Right. They traded L'Jarius Sneed, the Chiefs. This year they've traded Joe Thuney. Right, that happened to Chicago, maybe. So they have been.
Yeah.
Willing, I don't know what their cap hits are for these trades, but it'd be something. They do get out of guys.
They've got, I imagine they picked up the 5th-year option on this player, McDuffie, because he's going into it. But that would have. Oh, that happens this year.
This will be his 4th year.
This will be his 4th year. So his cap number is what it is, and they have the bottom line. They can do a contract with him. Is all I'm trying to get to here. Maybe that's coming at some point here, but they still have a 5th-year option to work with ahead of him becoming eligible for free agency. So, but maybe he's in line. He certainly should be. Like, he's a guy that should come in above Benford. Like, he might be top of market contract extension when it comes.
Vaughn is a $15.4 million dead money hit. Trey White and Rasul Douglas. Why is he on that list? This is Spot Track.
I don't know.
He wasn't released by the Bills, right? He was just up.
Yeah, his contract ran out. Yeah.
I wonder what that is. Trey White he was released. That's right. 4.1 dead cap. I think that would be right. I don't know on Douglas.
I don't see either of these guys on the list that I'm looking at. I wonder if we're on the same page.
Are you down at the bottom, dead cap?
Oh, yeah. No.
Where they list the guys.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Keaton Bills.
Yeah,
$16,000.
Is that the thing with Douglas? That's weird. Like, I understand White and Miller, those are guys that get cut and there's, dead money and depending. And Tre'Davious White, there was a June 1st designation, I believe. So that's why that carries over a second year. Unlike Diggs. Like, he's off the books now, Diggs, because they ate all that in 1 year. I don't know. Maybe there were void years or something in Douglas's contract, and that's how that comes up back to bite you. When in the end, when the player's contract is up, there's still some dead money left there. That's my best guess, because they inherited him with a contract, haven't given him anything. Unless did they do something with him last year?
Last March, converted salary plus roster bonus,
there
adding
go.
3 void years.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the explanation.
So if you sign him back, does that still count against you? Is he two entries?
Well, I don't know how that works. If you would just fold that into the new deal and then the dead money goes away, I'm not sure how that would work.
I think life is probably happier to be a cap isn't real guy.
Sure.
Just other than the somewhat of an obligation to answer callers' questions about these things.
Right.
I think it's just not real. Don't worry about it. That's just how Severance. I'll walk out the door and I'll just be, what? Salary cap? What? There's no salary cap. I don't know anything about it.
They can do whatever they need to do.
Didn't
Don't
somebody
worry
call
about
you
it.
about no, I don't remember. I don't remember my job. I don't remember anything about my job. Just this would be a tough job to be severed. Because you go home and you watch sports and you pay attention to sports and you read about sports and you take notes, 5 pages even perhaps. You take notes about sports, and then you come in here and you forget all of it.
Yeah, that would be tough. Because I sort of like to joke around to a certain extent with my family or my friends, like, well, so what's your day like? When do you start working? I'm like, I'm always working.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I'm working when I'm in
or
my,
never.
whatever. I'm Jerry Seinfeld. I'm observing life, and if there's something worth bringing to the audience, I will do it. So that's how I get away with I'm always working. Because I'm always thinking, oh, that could be something. Let me make a note of that.
But severed, so you watch the Bills and the Chiefs play for the AFC title. This might be good and bad.
Yeah.
You come in here, you sit down, you're sort of like maybe a little bit confused. The show starts, and I don't know who won. I didn't see I don't remember the game.
Right.
It happened last night. I don't know.
I got to open the box score and be like, oh, okay. So if what I'm reading is right here, it looks like they had a chance again to win late, and then something happened with the spot of the ball, and then I don't know.
Could that be a good listen? Where forget severance, but could it be a good listen to like at 3:00? I'm gonna open up the highlights, and I haven't watched the game. I'm just going to watch,
what
live
happened,
on the air,
right.
the 10-minute NFL package they give you on YouTube.
Right.
And like, just without knowing the outcome.
I have no idea.
I guess there'll be a lot of plays that aren't shown in that.
I'm still not entirely sure that this is a good listen. This is current. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know if that would be good or not. I'd be willing to try it sometime.
Free agent idea of the day.
Maybe we should try it next year.
Yeah, let's try it.
Game.
Some jet game.
Come in blind.
Free agent. For the Sabres, that's happened a number of times. Free agent idea of the day. Nick Chubb.
Get the hell out of here.
Why? Why is that such a bad idea? Haven't you watched him play, or you forgot?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I know Sneaky Joe DiBiase will assert that he's the greatest running back in the history of air or something. I don't know. He's broken and all used up, and I don't need a running back.
We talked about him on ADP chasing.
I do okay.
That makes sense. We talked about him on ADP chasing on Tuesday. That's my podcast on the Ship Chasing Network, Quote Network. It's really fun. And I thought Davis Maddock made the right point on Chubb, because I wanted to know if my guys thought him draftable. Like, where he goes, he's so cheap anyway. Like, is there going to be a landing spot for him, and can he still play? And, Davis referenced his injuries, and he's also not efficient anymore before he got hurt again. Last year, he said, look, think about the Browns and the lack of goodwill and just credibility they have right now. You got a guy like that, and you don't want him back?
Says a lot, yeah.
That might be the right point. He was a really likable player to watch. Just like he super good is right.
Left it all out there. There was no, he was tremendous.
Some big name had the point. He's the best ever. Who was it? Because we both Joe and I both loved it. Like anything so contrarian sounding like that is somebody. Oh, I forget right now who it was. That's the theme of the segment. Forgetting stuff.
Who's the Matt Harmon of running backs? Is that guy out there?
Yeah, I know, right? Somebody like that.
You talk him up.
Matt will be on our show tomorrow. Today, with Sal, we had Chris Trapasso weekly visit on the NFL draft. Our chat with Chris about the draft, just about, 3 weeks and change away. We'll have that for you after this. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We know